Call to order Richey City Council meeting Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. I invite the servant leader people to the motion to remain standing for the pledge. So, Father God, we come to you and we ask for wisdom. And you said if we ask for wisdom, you would give it to us. So we are asking for it for the city to be governed by you. And I thank you for each, the mayors, the police, the fire department, and the council here, as we pray for the public as well to be on your agenda for the things that you want to do. You said in James 3:17, but the wisdom that comes from above is first pure and practical. It gives us knowledge and wisdom. So that's what we're asking for the stuff that's on the agenda. And so there's many things that I could pray into and cover this, but I just thank you for the new chief of police that we have, Frank, that's coming on board, and you give him wisdom as we continue to work together in these areas. I do thank you for those that are elected already, that's going to be re-elected if they get that position, like Linda and Lisa, and then new ones that would come on board would be like Chris, if he gets voted in, that they would have a servant's heart and be leaders that lead with unity and truth. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, have roll, please.
Mayor John Eric Hoover.
Here.
Vice Mayor Linda Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilman David Mueller.
Here.
Councilman Robert Hubbard.
Here.
Councilwoman Lisa Burke.
Here.
City Attorney Nancy Meyer.
Here.
City Manager Matthew Koppler.
Here. Thank you. Real quick before we jump in, I just wanted to make an announcement. One of our residents passed away. It was a couple days ago. Mark, what was his last name?
Mark Neal.
Mark Neal. So just, our prayers go out to him and his family. It's always sad when we lose a resident. So I just want to point that out. So prayers to his family. We're thinking of you. So first up, we got 4 sets of minutes to approve. So we'll take each one in the order they are. So look for a motion for the December 17th, 2024 City Council Workshop minutes.
Motion to approve December 17th, 24 council workshop minutes.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, I need a motion for the January 14th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, I need a motion for February 7th, 2025 Centennial Opening Day meeting minutes. And I do have a error that I already pointed out to Ashley in that meeting. She included my opening day statement, but it was just the first page. There was 4 pages of that. So she's got that correct, I think, already. So if we get a motion with that change.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And last up is a motion for the March 11th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes.
Motion to approve March 11, 2025 City Council meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay. Motion, I got Linda on the second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up is comments from the general public. I do have a few signed up. We'll start with Danny Fields. Welcome.
Well, my name's Danny Fields. My address is 8114 Leo Kid. And again, I just want to thank you for your service and that. I respect every one of you here. And I'm glad to be a part of the team to pray and work together with the local churches and the community coming together and just being a representative of the people out there. Just thanking you that we get a chance to see the city change and grow for a better thing in the community. That's why on Easter, we have an Easter egg hunt coming up on Saturday, April the 19th, 2025 at 10 a.m. to 12 at 8119 Old Post Road in Port Richey area. That's at Waterfront Park. We're going to have live music. We're going to have prizes and games and snacks. We're believing that the Port Richey Police Department and Fire Department will be there because they've been there for the past, and they serve the community and build public relationships like what we do with October called Faith in Blue. And we'll hear the real story about Jesus and the resurrection. So that makes it great because a lot of people really don't know the message. And there will be Somebody Cares, the local church, Light of the World, and other Christian organizations reaching out in the community. We'll have food, fun, and games and music and stuff, and we'll give candy away. We have local sponsors here like Volunteer Way. It's right here on Congress. It supplies a lot of stuff. The businesses, and they fund a lot of this stuff in the churches. So we like to pour back into the community and represent not only the kingdom, but represents the city and build relationships. That's why you're all welcome to come to it, and that's a great time to get to know people out there that wouldn't come here, that you could fellowship, bring your family, and have fun. So I'm going to keep giving that invitation, and I've seen a lot of you out there, and I thank you for your participation. A little dry mouth. Been working out in the sun today, kind of a little thirsty. So we'll have Christians Motorcycle Association. They're going to be out there cooking. So there's going to be about 400 or 500 people. This is a great time, and we'll continue to do these events in the park and just build the community and try to be more involved with stuff that you guys do, like the 100 years, celebration with Port Richey. I've been sharing it, putting it on my page and encouraging people to come out to it. I know the fireworks, I get a lot of people to show up to that because that's something that a lot of people like to get involved in. So I just want to thank you again, and we are doing the 7 Mountains of Influence, praying for government. So that would be at the Oasis, 9213 Little Road, Newport Richey, 34654, and we continue to pray. And what that is just praying for things that, like you hear me praying about here. So blessings. Thank you in Jesus' name.
Thanks, Dan. Next up I have John Semessa.
I have here for you.
So I can't accept the record. What do you have? Yeah, go give me your name and address for the record and tell us what you got.
My name is John Semesso. I live at 8211 Brent Street, Unit 837 in San Pebble Point 1.
Okay, what do you got there? You get some.
Board.
Get to the clerk.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is John Semesso, and I have been a property owner in San Pebble Point 1 since 1984. Since my retirement in 2004, I have been a resident. In 2008, I became the treasurer of San Pebble Point 1, and one of my responsibilities was serving as liaison between the board and the water authority regarding issues affecting unit owners. This now brings us to the matter at hand. On Thursday, February 27th, while working with the maintenance department to locate a leak in a building, we were invited into a unit to inspect for a leak. When checking for leaks, you start at the inlet valve and work your way forward. I noticed two things immediately. There was water on the floor and the inlet valve had no lock. In the previous week, the water authority responsible for maintaining water supply and ensuring compliance placed a lock on the valve due to delinquencies. I left the unit and contacted the Port Richey Water Authority, leaving a message for Manager Darrell, stating that the valve has not been locked. I emphasized the need to promptly return calls so that I can review what I saw when entering the unit. On Saturday, March 2nd, at approximately 7:40 a.m., I received a call from the unit owner below the one I have contacted the Water Authority on Thursday about. I was informed that water was coming down from the unit above, creating urgent situation. It took until 11 a.m. for the water department to arrive on site. At 10:56 a.m., I spoke with the technician. He indicated that the valve was closed, the valve head has been cut, and the water meter has been removed. This brings us to Monday, March 3rd. I contacted Matthew Cooper, the city manager. I reviewed the issue at hand. A resident damaged city property, resulting in a theft of service. Mr. Cooper informed me that he would need to consult with the city attorney as there was no established guidelines for handling this matter. He would then contact me regarding the attorney's thoughts on the matter. As of today, I still have not been contacted regarding this matter. After speaking with the city manager, I went to the town hall and requested all documents relating to the issue of Saturday, March 2nd. I then visited the police station and received a police event report. As of last week, I still have not received any communication from the town regarding this issue, which is causing significant frustration. The lack of communication is not only frustrating, but also hinders the resolution of this issue. I also had to file a FOIL request with the Water Authority for the information that I requested on March 3rd. Improved communication is critical for a swift resolution. I am inquiring about the board's policy on theft. Let me give you an example. If a person breaks a lock on the town's supply shed, steals 5 gallons of fuel, is it a crime? If you steal 100 gallons of water, is that a crime? We need transparent and fair policies to address these issues. Clarity on these policies is essential for a fair and just resolution. Every resident in Port Richey who pays their water bill should not be subsidizing those who do not. The situation is not only unfair, but also...
Hey, John, how much more you got?
What?
How much more you got? You get 3 minutes. You've passed your 3 minutes.
Okay, well,
You got,
just make a mark here, and my president from will continue.
okay. Are you John Hatfield? Okay. Welcome, John.
Yes, my name is John Hatfield. I live at 8150 Brent Street, Unit 711 in Sand Pebble 1. I've been an owner in Sand Pebble since 2004. I'm what they call a snowflake. I'm here in the wintertime. I'm back up north in the summertime. So in my capacity, I'm the president of the board for Sand Pebble 1. I'm also the chairman of the yacht club, and I'll address that shortly. To follow on from him, every resident of Port Richey who pays their bill should not be subsidizing those who do not want to. This situation is not only unfair, but it also undermines the trust of law-abiding residents in the system. The water theft issue is not only affects the financial burden on the community, but it also the reliability and trust in our water supply. I urge the board to consider the urgency on this matter and provide a response at your earliest convenience. Thank you for your time and attention on this matter. This was the balance of the statement from Mr. Semesso.
Okay.
I have a slightly different take on what the situation is, and I'd like to discuss that.
Sure.
As a head of the Sand Pebble Yacht Club, we have 2 meters that are used to supply water to the 38 docks that we have. We have those set up on separate accounts, and they are automatically paid from our checking account, okay? And last year, our total water bills for the yacht club was $753.82, plus we paid $332.60 for valve inspection that's required by the water department. All right, considering the situation that we have, my question is, what constitutes a level of theft before legal remedy is used? Okay. And then as an ending, Sand Pebble 1, which represents 188 doors of the 363 doors that are in Sand Pebble, okay? We spend approximately $30,000 a year in water to supply the 144 units, okay? My question is, what constitutes the level before legal action is taken against those people responsible?
Okay. We don't know the question and answer during public.
No, I'm just
Okay.
posing the question. As much as Mr. said,
Go back. You see it. So,
if you'd reply or comment at your earliest request, that'd be fine.
is that all you had? Is that all you had?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Only 2 minutes.
So, Ashley, he brought some stuff up to you. Was that just a statement or what?
It's the statement, yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion to enter that in the record? Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a
Second.
copy of my list.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment for that? On the, in the record? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. I'm going to, if you approach, I'm going to give you my card, and I'll talk to Matt as well. obviously there was a lot of information there, so I want to reach out to you myself. I'll give you one for.
Which one is to call you?
Huh? You call me anytime, but I just want to make sure you had that. And then,
Okay, I'll give one to John and one to John.
all right, thank you.
I'll call you again.
And I'll, I think Matt told me that he talked to you today. Is that correct?
Nobody took it.
Excuse me, but that's a lie.
No, you didn't
I
call
called you today.
Oh, well,
I called you this afternoon.
what
And I
time?
thought you were going to be talking about this with me, but instead you wanted to talk about
What time?
construction going on. It was this afternoon.
Okay. Well, hey, this is not the forum for that. I apologize.
received the call
But I just let's.
That's a
on
lie.
myself.
Okay. Well,
That's a lie.
we'll take a look at this after the meeting, whatever. Like I said, you got my number. Give me a call, and I can.
We can review this.
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And that's all I have signed up. Is there anybody else? Show of hands like to speak? Okay. Moving on. And we all have the statement that we entered into the record. So, okay. Next up, comments from the city manager and the police department presentation tonight as well. So I'll pass it to Mr. Copperfield.
Yeah, so you're going to get his presentation up? Okay. And as she's getting that up, I just had a couple things real quick. Wanted to remind council that the Planning and Zoning Board is going to have a sign code public meeting on the 31st at 6 p.m. We sent letters out to all the businesses in the city to make sure they're aware of it, as well as place it on the website. So businesses have a chance to come in, talk to Planning and Zoning about any changes they would like to see in the sign code. I'm hoping that they'll then take it up at the next meeting, which is probably going to be the 9th of April. And from there, hopefully get it into your hands sometime in May. Want to let you know that we received notice that we received a hazard mitigation grant totaling $179,000 from FEMA, and it's going to be going for 4 generators for lift stations in the city: Bay Boulevard, Bolsner, Chapel, and Queener. It is a 75-25 match. So we're going to have a match of $79,000. We'll actually be bringing all this to you on the 9th, if that's when the meeting's going to be, for your approval, so we can get signatures and get that project moving forward. And that's all I had. Yes.
45% of sub 179 is.
No. So 179 is 75% of the
Okay.
total.
Yeah,
So
okay.
our share is going to be 79,000 on top of that. So it's about 240 some thousand.
And these are going to be portable generators?
No, those will be fixed.
Are they going to be elevated to a height
That's
that?
a good question. 2 ways to do it. Either it could be elevated or they could be sealed in some way. So I don't have that answer
Okay.
yet. So
But we're planning.
we'll have that. We'll have that.
planning for water height. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. And that's all I had. And turn it over to Captain Koch.
All right. Good evening. So, in preparing for this presentation for you, I knew we're going to have a little bit of a full agenda, so I tried to keep it concise to aspects I think you would be most interested in. We can go to the first slide. Those aspects are going to be the organization of the agency as a whole and personnel, the overall calls for service, criminal activity or the crime activity, traffic-related activity, and the red light camera program. I tried to make it a little bit of a statistical aspect of that for you as we go. The first slide is going to show the structure of the organization as to how we are set up. With us, as with most police departments, the largest division of the agency is the patrol division. Currently, we're divided into four squads, with 2 squads being on each side of the schedule. Each squad is consisting of 1 sergeant, 2 patrol officers, and a dispatcher who rotates with that squad. In addition to that, the squads are supplemented by 2 patrol officers who are assigned to swing shift. They're scheduled to overlap both day and night shifts on their respective side of the schedule. Additionally, the canine officer is strategically scheduled during hours and days with the greatest potential for the need for the utilization of the canine, which also provides increased manpower during those times. The canine also provides full service handling of general calls for service in addition to its canine duties and operations. So they are, in fact, full service in and of themselves, can transport prisoner and handle all calls. As we go to the next slide, the
Real quick on that, what's the blue coloring been up?
blue coloring is civilian personnel.
Admin.
Okay.
Like it's on this morning.
Okay.
So the next slide, this is a breakdown of the current staffing of those positions. One correction that need to make to that, in the patrol officer position is actually 2 vacant positions, not 1. Those 2 positions are the swing shift positions that I just described a couple moments ago, and obviously are currently vacant. And also, obviously, as you're aware, the vacancy for the chief of police will be filled next month when Chief Select Ruggiero assumes the position. Other than that, the only current position that's open is the part-time dispatch position. One of the aspects of the filling of the positions for the patrol primarily is that we're run into a little bit of the hurdle with is the receiving applications from the qualified candidates. This is not unique to us. Agencies across the Bay Area, the state, and I would suspect throughout the rest of the country as well are having the same issues getting people that are qualified to come in. We have gotten a few applications that have come in from different people. Many of them tend to have a recent issue with their departure from a previous agency or other aspects that don't make them the highest of priority in selection. I recently did have one applicant that we were offering the position, had to just complete the final 2 processes in the selection and screening process, and decided to withdraw from consideration. So as we go to the next slides, this is addressing the overall call for services. I tried to keep this for the most part for the review of 2024. Obviously, this is broken down on a monthly basis. It's showing our average monthly call for service is 1,952 calls for service. That's inclusive of all calls, from anything that is called in from an outside party, a complainant, a victim, a passerby going by and seeing something, to anything even that is self-initiated by the officers on patrol. They're all categorized into a call for service. So that's 1,952 activities, if you will, that's being done by the agency as a whole. So far, year to date, January and February, I haven't done anything for March numbers yet. January we had 2,025. February was 1,911. So we're still right in that consistency of about 1,900 or so calls for service on average. Moving into the next slide.
Yeah, on that one, is this indicative of every year we kind of seem like during the colder months there's more calls? Is that normal?
Yeah, it varies. It also has to do a lot of times with personnel. If we're down a couple people, we also will tend to see a little bit of a drop in numbers that way. Versus if we're 100% full staffed, we have that extra manpower. So where we're addressing outside calls to service when we're lower, we now have that extra manpower, so the officers are then self-initiating additional activity as well.
So these calls for service include self-initiated calls?
Self-initiated. It's all activities.
Gotcha.
So next slide, they say moving more towards the crime. I focused more so on the violent crimes and the significant property crimes, the theft and burglaries with that. So obviously, as you can see, the violent crimes are few and far between relative. On occasion, we do get a couple that apply in there and occur. I'm going to break them down a little bit more so as well. This graphic is for 2024. So far, year to date for 2025, aggravated, again, January through February, aggravated assaults, we've had 3 aggravated batteries, no sex offenses or robberies, 18 thefts, and burglaries. Yes.
Thefts, are they basically primarily Walmart, like retail?
There's a good amount I have coming up in the next slide and graphic of the breakdown of the thefts.
What about drug crimes?
So I didn't break that down into these statistics. I kept this.
Are they baked into these statistics, but you haven't broken out, or it's excluded?
So they're incorporated into the calls for service. The crimes aspect of it, though, I kept it primarily to the violent crimes and the property crimes.
Well, okay.
And again, I can research and pull those numbers. I wasn't sure how in depth you wanted to go to which different crime levels.
Well, I would think drug arrest would be one of the things that you want to capture as a statistic. Potentially, maybe that drives that. I don't think.
And again, we can go back and capture that data.
That's a great call out. So on this particular slide, none of these would have drug arrests involved in this, right?
Correct.
Off the top of your head, would you say that there's quite a few of those? I mean, I know when I've ridden along, that was kind of lion's share of the activity was.
It's on par for the area, and so to break the way I did break this down, breaking it down a little bit further, the violent crimes on the next graph. That's how they break down. So the robberies we've had 2. Both of those robberies were at a specific location and were targeted. It was the same location that occurred at multiple times. They have to do with another issue that we're attempting to address to hopefully prevent that. The sex offenses that were there were delayed incidents, and the alleged offenders were known parties. And then the aggravated assaults and aggravated batteries, for the most part, they tend to typically be not crimes of passion per se, but heat of the moment crimes that tend to occur. With respect to the burglaries, next slide, please. So that's a breakdown of the types of burglaries. As you can see, for the most part, they're pretty well equal to the different types. The conveyances, vehicles of any sort, commercial, residential, averaging less than 3 per month throughout. There doesn't appear to be any consistent trend with them. Again, to get in there specific, I would have to get into each one of those and break them down on their own method of operation per incident. And then the next slide, the big one on that previous one, and Councilman asked a minute ago where the thefts come from. So that's the overall breakdown of the thefts. As you can see, the retail theft is about 61% of all the thefts that are occurring in the city. I'm going to say that the majority, if not all of those, are probably from Walmart. There may be a few outliers from other establishments that have the occasional the occasional shoplifter that comes in and they elect to have law enforcement involvement.
So one question, the slide before this, I think it was like 33 total. Yeah, 10 conveyance, 13, and 10, so 33 crimes in 2024. But on the next slide, you had 131 retail, which would be assuming commercial.
So the slide before that was burglary specific.
Oh, burglary.
Those
okay.
were types of burglary.
Thanks.
Right. So if you break into a home, if you break into a vehicle, or break into a commercial business. One thing also with the burglary statute in Florida, there are occasions where, just as an example, if you have a dispute that occurs and it becomes physical, and one person reaches into a vehicle and commits a crime or strikes another person, even though it's not what we typically think of as a burglary or a break and enter kind of thing, by Florida statute, they classify that as a burglary. So you could have some of the outliers in there of that. The vast majority of them are going to be what you would typically think of as a burglary, however. So again, back to the thefts. So the vast majority is the retail. The petty thefts are anything less than $750 in value is considered petty theft in nature. That could be anything from somebody's bicycle, they leave it somewhere, and when they come back, to I lost my cell phone and I think somebody picked it up somewhere.
What's the value? Under what?
Less than $750. That used to be $300. State legislature about 5 years ago decided to change that and increased it up to $750 in value. And then the 22 grand thefts is anything over $750 in value, or specific types of items. For example, if there's a vehicle or firearm, a fire extinguisher, regardless of the value of that specific item, it is considered grand theft. One thing to note as well with the grand theft numbers, some of them may also be retail related because of the cumulative amount of what is stolen as part of the retail theft. We would classify it as the grand theft, even though it's retail related.
So once retail exceeds that amount, then it goes to grand.
Correct. Moving on to the next slide. A little bit of traffic records. So unfortunately, this graph I think I made a little bit busier than what I had intended. The two different matrix. The left hand side is meant to be relative to the traffic stops, the squiggly line that's going across, whereas the right hand side matrix is reference to the crashes and the impounds. My intent in this was more so to try and relate the volume of traffic crashes on that regular basis to the amount of traffic stops that are going on as a correlation of a corrective action or an attempt to minimize the number of crashes. Same thing with the number of impounds, and I wish I would have moved that a little bit differently to maybe its own independent slide. But the correlation from the number of stops to the amount of vehicles that are being impounded as the process. So the next slide, I tried to extrapolate out from the crashes, and this I decided to go a little bit bigger time frame here to a 10-year window. What I was looking to show was the percentages or the volume of crashes that are ordinary crashes versus injury crashes, serious injury crashes, and fatalities. Unfortunately, the systems didn't allow me just to extract injury crashes in and of themselves, but I was able to access a system through the state that's able to delineate the serious injury and the fatality. So as a historical view, this is kind of where we're at with the serious bodily injury and fatalities. As you can see, we average about 1 to 2 fatalities a year. A little background: I've been on the scene of probably 85% of our fatalities since I started doing the traffic homicide in 2001. Vast majority of our fatalities are pedestrian related, bicycle related, things of that nature. Not too many where it's vehicle to vehicle. We do have them; they do occur though. The other aspect that I would somewhat caution with as far as the serious injury, that can be considered as part of a life-threatening injury, or other mechanism of injury that is serious in nature but may not be life-threatening per se. So sometimes if the person it looks like they're in a bad way on the scene when they're transported off to the hospital, we classify that as a serious bodily injury, and hours later they're being released from the hospital, and it turns out that it's not as serious in nature as what we had become aware. So we're starting to see a little bit of a decrease in that. Last year we didn't have any serious, we only had the one fatal. So far for this year, and I'm knock on wood, so to speak, we've not had any of either. We're still early in the year yet, and I'm hoping that trend continues.
And so pedestrians are involved in these numbers, both fatal and serious injury?
Right.
So
Those are all fatalities and serious bodily injuries.
So it could be
That are in there.
the cars involved or vehicles involved, but it could be the pedestrian that is
Correct.
injured or whatever, right?
Correct. And again, it's been my experience, the vast majority of serious bodily injury and fatalities, or especially the fatalities that we have, typically it is pedestrian related or a bicyclist, something of that nature. Not as many are vehicle to vehicle.
Yeah.
And again, there are some incorporated into that throughout that time.
You know, obviously the goal is 0, right?
Correct.
But this seems as busy as 19 is. Those numbers really aren't horrible. I mean, does it seem like that to you guys? I mean, that's
Are any of these
for a year.
Are any of these golf carts?
I have not worked any of them. I'm not aware of any of them having occurred today.
I'm not either.
So the most we have, 2017, we had 11 injuries, or in one, 10 injuries and serious injuries and 1 death.
Last year was a motorcycle.
Yeah, and I hear it all the time up there. And granted, we just have a small footprint or whatever, but as busy as those intersection stuff is, that's
19 run through the middle of town. That's not too bad.
exactly. That seems to be pretty good.
So
Less than a mile.
we have about 1.5 miles of US 19 that runs through the city. And to expound upon that a little bit, I did some online research here not too long back. US 19 in Pasco County, I believe it was last year, was classified as the second deadliest in the state of Florida, and we're right smack in the middle of that stretch of roadway. Pinellas County is the first. So from that County Bridge up to the Pasco Hernando County line is the 2 worst, if you will. Again, so 1 is too many.
Right.
But on the grand scale of it, I'm glad we don't have more than what we do.
And I sit on the MPO board, and we look at some of these graphics or whatever, and up and down 19, and right over where we're at, it's a heat map. There's a lot of activity going on here. So like I said, those are really decent numbers. I mean, like I said, it'd be great to have 0. So you're going to have some, obviously, but given how bad the stretch of road is, that's not bad for a little stretch of city. But
Have no serious injuries at all last year.
that's
amazing.
yes.
Correct. And that, like I said, that 1 fatality that you spoke of, the motorcycle. And again, as many as I've seen, as many as I've been on the scene of, that was probably one of the most intense mechanism of injuries that I've personally seen. So, and you briefly mentioned, obviously the objective is zero. So some of the efforts that we're taking on to do that. For the past 3 years, we've taken part in it's a DOT program. I believe it's facilitated through USF. We've referred to it as ELEE. Stands for the Enhanced Law Enforcement Engagement Program. It's an on duty program where when we're able, we go out and we basically saturate the roadway for blocks of time. In doing so, there's a point system of how much effort and how many of these mini details that we put into it, and we get a point basis from it. Last year we were able to, and I believe you all mentioned it at one of the council meetings, we were able to get about $32,000 worth of equipment as part of that program that go back into traffic enforcement, upgrading some of the speed measurement devices that we've had for years and are getting tired. The year before, I forget what we had gotten. We had gotten a smaller amount the year before. This year, we're still part of that program. As I say, this is the third year that we're doing it. The program ends the end of March, March 31st. I was looking at some numbers of where we're at, and I'm estimating that we'll probably end up with probably about another 14,000 in equipment. This past cycle, we also slowed down a little bit on that during a portion of the time with everybody trying to recover from the storms and hurricanes. They had bigger things to worry about at that time, so let them get their feet back under them, and reintroduce the program and moving forward. We're also, as you're aware, we're also taking part in a reimbursement grant from the Florida Department of Transportation for the speed and aggressive driving. That runs through September 30th. And for next year, we've already applied to have that grant renewed, as well as to see if they're willing to grant us a DUI enforcement grant. And again, that would be for next fiscal year, 25-26, for them. Let's see here. So as far as general traffic, that's it. Moving on to the next slide. This is for the red light camera program. And again, I wanted to take this a little bit further back for the 10-year period. I was going to go a little bit further, but I figured this would give you a nice snapshot of the program. As you can see, the red line is the annual average of violations that occur as part of that program. The blue line down to the bottom is the monthly average year to year. So basically what the average is for the monthly average for that respective year, I guess is maybe a better way of putting it. What I noticed in pulling this, there was a bit of an increase there, or a substantial increase actually in about 2020 when things went up, and then it seems that we're starting to trend back downwards. I know last year we had a little bit of an issue where we had lost some violations in there. Even adding those in at the top of that bar would still put us to a lower amount than we were at the previous year, ballpark of about 10,000.
Is this a calendar year or just?
This is by calendar year.
So there's only really 2 months, maybe 3 months worth of activity in 2025.
Correct. And the monthly average is about just over 700 so far for the 2 months of 2025. So if you extrapolate that out for the next 10 months, 700 times the 10 months, another 7,000 plus the 2 that's there. So about looking at about 90, but yeah, about 9,100 violations if the pace continues
You
at
said
that.
just 2 months, then that
That-
21, 25 is 2 months of activity?
That's January, February, yes, sir.
Okay, so times 6, that's gonna put it around 12, right? 12,000.
Well, so I was, if you go by the total 2 months, yes, sir, you could do it that way. I was going by the 700 a month times the remaining 10 months of the year.
It doesn't, when you look at how it goes out, it's not going to be that late.
No, because there's more people in the city during the winter months than there are in the summer months, so it's.
Yeah, it kind of curves down a little bit during the summer, but then picks back up. But even in that, from year to year, those months are going to vary. So it's, that easily could. I still remember when we met what the numbers were. I mean, that could easily be, 1 month you had 1,400, the next month you only had 700. But so it just.
But how many of them got thrown out in that scenario too?
Yeah.
So I would say it'd be fair to say from 9 to 12,000 would be in that range. Would be
So 21, 22, that was COVID, was it? Was COVID, was it?
20,
So
2020 was COVID.
COVID, right? So you'd expected that the amount of traffic would have been lower because you'd have less people traveling, but.
And I was looking at that when I came in, and that was.
That's why.
That was my thought on that. That is right at the COVID window time of the pandemic. Also, keep in mind during that time, law enforcement throughout the state was kind of not directed, but suggested to reduce your unnecessary contacts. So there was a lot of traffic enforcement that decreased during that period of time throughout the state, and you probably now had people out in the vehicles and doing that. So I can't say that that's the correlation, but I look at that as being a likely.
Could be a difference. Interesting.
So, and that's all I have.
Any questions? Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, next up, comments from boards and committees. Do we have any boards, committees?
We don't. We meet
Right.
at the beginning of the month. So.
The Centennial Committee, we meet every week because we got a lot of stuff to go on. Just a couple things from that. So we're talking about the time capsule. The new time capsule is going to be buried or whatever. And so the thought process is that similar to what we saw, each council person would have an envelope or whatever. We put something from each one of us in that time capsule.
Right.
And then the committee as a whole would put together some items and put that in. It's kind of our thought process. So we're working through that. So we'll obviously that's going to be done on the morning of the 17th, right? 18th.
May 18th.
May 18th, yeah. So just kind of be thinking about your individual contributions to what you want to put in a time capsule, so you be ready for that. The other thing, I brought this up before, and just to give you a little more information on it and get your feel on what you're thinking. I brought up about rebranding one of our parks to Centennial Park. There'd be Waterfront Centennial Park. Keep the same name, but add Centennial to it. Or, as far as waterfront, we could actually just do Centennial Park instead of Waterfront, or some combination thereof. Are you guys okay with doing something like that? Do you think it's a good idea or not? Because what would happen is obviously we'd have to, put that through and vote on it or whatever, and there'd be an expense. It'd be coupled with our wayfinding stuff that we're going to be doing.
Right.
And so we wouldn't have anything for the Centennial Day, but we probably would have like a banner to put over the other ones temporarily to rebrand the Centennial Park. And then once we go through the other stuff in general for the whole city, we could do some signage for the park as well. So.
Do you have any history on why we call it? I know it's waterfront, but was there any specific history? Do you know of anything? Oh, why we called it waterfront? I mean, I know it's waterfront, but was there anything specific in historical?
Not that I can think of at this time. I'd have to take a look at it. I mean, it's one of the more, it's one of the newer parks. Mm-hmm. It's not that old, so I I can't remember if they went through a process of branding that name and, you know, getting citizen input or anything like that, but we can look into that.
Will we have to
But
get
as
permission
far as-
from the trust?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh, that's a good question. Would the trust have to be involved in that decision to be able
They'll
to
probably want to
rename
be
it?
notified that we're going to go through that process, so I don't see them having any issue with it, but just so they can update their records on what parks need to be called, so they can look it up if need be.
Yeah. I just want to basically, if you guys think it's a great idea
Yeah,
or you think it's a bad
absolutely.
idea, and it was, okay, so everybody thinks
I just
okay.
didn't want to step on any
No,
toes
no.
with the
As far as the
rebranding,
name,
so-
like I said, if waterfront has some significance, we didn't keep it. We can just add Centennial to it. That's kind of what I thought. If we was to do Nick's Park, it'd be Nick's Centennial Park. You'll keep the same name, Waterfront Centennial Park. You know, but if there's for that particular park, if there's nothing significant about it, maybe we just call it Centennial Park. So, but we can talk about that later.
And part of this wayfinding will be to identify those key points within our city that we want to bring attention to.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So let's see, time capsule state park. So I think that's all I have for the Centennial stuff. Briefly, we got some of the mayor's ball invitations in. Tickets are being printed, so those will probably it's on our next agenda Tuesday to finalize the guest list and whatnot, and then we'll be sending those invitations out with a letter from me to the dignitaries and that to try to get that out. So it's out there now. People can sign up and buy their tickets. The portal's up. You can pay for the stuff online, but those invitations will be going out very soon. As you see, we got our banner there in front of us. The T-shirts. We just had the protocol we looked at tonight, kind of proof, and it looked good with just minor changes in spacing and lettering of the committee of council at the bottom. But it's done, so it'll be going to print probably tomorrow, and so we'll have some T-shirts in a few days. Obviously, we'll have a booth at the different events so we can sell those T-shirts and some other things. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Of course, all the flyers, you probably saw them out in the lobby. Looks real nice out there. People come in, they can see and take it up, take it home, and consider coming to some of that stuff. We just got a couple more in May, which is the actual Centennial Day on Saturday. We got to finalize that flyer and put that event out there. And what was the other one? Is that what we still waiting on? Was there another one? Yeah, the kickoff parade. And
Festival is on Saturday, and then the Centennial Day on the 18th.
Yeah, and that next week we're going to talk more about the kickoff parade and the route and kind of finalize all that stuff. So more to come on that. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Item number 2 is I wanted to point out that staff made a change to that. If you want to go to the consent agenda, you'll see that now you have an original budget amount in there for the year, and you have our year-to-date spend and the remaining budget that's left, as well as remaining percentage. The remaining budget, remaining percentage does not take into consideration the payment amount we're getting ready to approve. So these are as of last consent agenda approval, that's what those mean. So I want to, if there's any other feedback on that, but it's much improved, and I think it's, if you look at it from the standpoint, we're about 6 months into the budget, and about 50% on the utilities. So we're tracking about right there. The Duke Energy account, obviously, we're under running.
Right, yeah.
And that could be a billing cycle type thing or whatever.
Timing, yeah.
But anyway, is there any comments on that? I thought this was helpful.
No, that was my concern. I wanted to see where we're at on our run rate, and it looks like we're underrunning utilities. Maybe there's some bills out there that aren't flagged yet. Still in process. But I'm good with this.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion seconds for discussion. Any public comment? Seeing none, bring back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up we have one public hearing. Item number 3, first reading of ordinance number 25-728, amending the City of Port Richey Comprehensive Plan, ordinance number 88-382 as amended to update the transportation element, infrastructure element, conservation and coastal management element, intergovernmental coordination element, and capital improvements element, providing for inclusion in the City of Port Richey Comprehensive Plan, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. We've got a presentation. Should we have public comment after the presentation?
Let her do her.
Okay. So
Might answer any questions that they have.
do you introduce us at all? Or? Okay. So welcome, Tammy.
Good evening, everyone. Tammy Vrana, Vrana Consulting, serving as your call city planner. Here we go. Everything's situated here. So tonight we're going to be going over your comprehensive plan update based on your 2023 evaluation and appraisal review, and this is a public hearing and it's the first reading. The purpose of this public hearing is to review the goals, objectives, and policies for elements of the city's comprehensive plan, including the conservation and coastal management element, the transportation element, infrastructure element, intergovernmental coordination element, and capital improvements element, to invite public input and then decide on approval of first reading of Ordinance 25-278. And that ordinance includes all the goals, objectives, and policies that we'll talk about in a bit. So the background is that Florida cities and counties are required, or they're required to adopt a comprehensive plan. The plan must be evaluated every 7 years. In 2023, when it was time for the city to do their evaluation and appraisal report, that was conducted. There was a list of things that we found when we compared your comprehensive plan to what the state requirements are. As you know, there are laws passed over time, and we need to make sure that your comp plan stays in compliance with those. We received input on the document that you're looking at, the goals, objectives, and policies, by the Comprehensive Land Use Plan Committee in generally Q1 and Q2 of 2024. So we were working on this about a year ago. And then the Planning and Zoning Board held, I believe, 2 workshops and then a public hearing on March 11th on this. And so they did provide feedback. There were some minor changes to the policies, and their recommendation was that City Council adopt this amendment. And I will also add that everything that you see in your ordinance is just goals, objectives, and policies. That's the only part that we adopt. Anything that is analysis, so the kind of the narrative that you see before the coastal conservation and coastal management element is not adopted. So that can be changed at any time. So let's start off with the conservation and coastal management element, because it was the biggest chunk. And a lot of what we had to address as far as state statute was relative to your coastal management element, including the peril of flood policies that are required by state statute. The city has a combined conservation and coastal management element, so a lot of those policies overlap, because you can think about, your green spaces, conservation areas also fulfill somewhat of a flood mitigation function as well. So we went ahead and just did a complete overhaul update of this, drawing really heavily on the adopted conservation and coastal management element, goals, objectives, and policies. So a refresh, if you will. And also we did anything that, in a comprehensive plan, the goals are largely aspirational, but in some cases you do have policies that function somewhat like a land development code. Really, it's probably within a year, the state will ask you to take those things that are functioning as a land development code and put them in your land development code. So anything that was like that in your existing code, we did not. They still stand as they were. The only one change is, and I'll get into this here, is that we did reduce the wetland buffer for a Category 1 wetland from 30 feet to 25 feet, and that's based on what Swift Mud is essentially, and also Pasco County does. So 30 feet, we just went to kind of be standard with what everybody else is doing. So I just wanted to point those things out, because the rest of this is going to be a little bit quick. So we have 5 different goals within the coastal conservation and coastal management element, starting with natural and cultural resources. And that goal is to implement best practices and strategies to protect and enhance the natural environment, to conserve natural resources, and safeguard the community's cultural assets to improve environmental health, support diverse ecosystems and wildlife habitat, and enhance the educational, recreational, economic, and social benefits these resources offer. To support that goal, there are 7 different objectives, and under each one of those objectives is a set of policies. So I'm going to go through the objectives. At the end, if you have questions relative to any of these, the goals, objectives, and policies, please ask me, and I will do my best to answer those questions. So the objectives under the natural and cultural resources goal relate to ecosystem preservation, habitat protection, air quality, water conservation, energy conservation, cultural resources protection, and waterfront uses and public access. And these are guided by the statute that says these are the things that you should address in your comprehensive plan. So the next goal relates to coastal resiliency, and this is where a lot of the peril of flood policies reside. So we really boosted up this area because peril of flood was not a requirement back when your comp plan was last updated around, I think, 2010, 2009, 2010. So the goal is to promote practices that improve resiliency in recovering from natural disasters and responding to sea level rise and climate stresses to minimize property damage and ensure the community's long-term sustainability. The objectives relate to risk assessment and mapping, so keeping up with what the vulnerabilities are through data analysis and mapping, public infrastructure that might be vulnerable, natural flood protection, land planning and regulation, building standards, and risk financing and insurance, such as the CRS program, in National Flood Insurance Program. I went ahead and threw this in because we did not have a map like this before. I was trying to hunt it down. And I was telling the city manager that I've been talking with the Regional Planning Council, who's going to help the city with updating its future land use map and zoning. And one of the things that we're required to show on the future land use map or on the series, the future land use map series, is the coastal high hazard area. And this area, let me make sure, this is defined in statute as the area below the Category 1 storm surge that's established by the sea, lake, and overland surges from hurricanes, which is called the slosh model. And that is, as I mentioned, defined in statute. There are policies within your comprehensive plan, there always have been, that relate to this coastal high hazard area and making sure that you're doing thoughtful planning and not putting any new things essentially in harm's way that aren't hardened or that mitigate for the vulnerability in some manner. So the third goal relates to emergency preparedness and evacuation. And the goal is to protect lives, minimize risks to property, and safeguard critical infrastructure from natural disasters through proactive emergency planning, informed decision-making, and safe and efficient evacuation of coastal populations when needed. And there are only two objectives. They relate to emergency preparedness and emergency evacuation. The fourth goal relates to post-disaster redevelopment, and the goal is to proactively plan for and effectively manage post-disaster redevelopment efforts, emphasis on reducing future vulnerabilities and strengthening community resilience in the face of natural disasters. And those objectives that relate to more your long-term recovery, repair, and disaster are indicated in those three policies. And the last policy in the conservation and coastal management element relates to community engagement and partnerships. So our goal is to actively involve our community and partners in learning about and addressing issues related to conservation and coastal management to foster a culture of preparedness, resiliency, and sustainability. And the two objectives, the first one is outreach and engagement to your community, and then the second one relates to the myriad community partners that you could have in addressing these challenges. So these are the remaining comprehensive plan elements, and they're very targeted. These are the things where a statute said you must do this, and I went back in and we identified those policies that pretty much needed a tweak. So you will see underline and strike through policies here. The first one relates to the service standards for the Strategic Intermodal System. US 19 is a facility on the state's Strategic Intermodal System. This policy simply updates this to recognize the facility status and to say that you'll coordinate with different agencies to set the level of service for US 19, because it is a regional facilities and regional facility, and the level of service standard that you have in your comp plan should replicate what the other surrounding communities and the Department of Transportation adopt. This one, I was thinking might work with your wayfinding process, but, or your signage project. This is a requirement that the transportation element address recreational traffic. So I'll just read it. It's the brand new policy. So prioritize the creation of safe and efficient connections between recreational facilities, employment centers, and residential areas to encourage walk, bike, recreational commuting, provide signage and wayfinding to guide recreational uses to multi-use trails, fitness loops, and other outdoor recreational areas, and promote awareness of safety practices. So you may not have all these types of amenities relative to recreation now, but that's not to say that within the next 20 years you might not. You may. So this relates to the infrastructure element and the city's level of service standard for water supply and water facilities. We went ahead and the city manager developed a water supply facilities work plan, which is at least a 10-year plan that looks at the adequacy of the city's water supply and water supply facilities to meet the needs of the existing and the projected population. In the course of doing that evaluation, it was determined that the city was using less than the 105 gallons per day per person that was on the books back when the comp plan was first adopted in about 2010. So now the standard is 96, which is actually a little higher than what your actual demand is, but it's always good to have a little bit of buffer there just for, spikes in usage. You could have a drought, or it's good for planning just to have a little bit more cushion there.
What is the actual number? Was it 80 something there?
Approximately 80.
80. Okay, good. Okay, so this policy relates to that 10-year water supply facilities work plan, so just updated the policy to indicate that that is something that you develop within 18 months of the Southwest Florida Water Management District updating its regional water supply plan. So they do that about every 5 years, so you just need to be sort of tracking when they do their update that you are also updating your 10-year plan. Under the intergovernmental coordination, there was a requirement that the voluntary dispute resolution process that governments sometimes have to be involved in, instead of indicating it as voluntary, it needs to be mandatory. These policies also relate to the existing policies that we've indicated mandatory. The third one relates to the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council's informal mediation process that's available to you. And then the third one we just struck because it was already kind of encapsulated in the first two, so it was redundant. For the capital improvements element, we did just some updating. There's no longer a Rule 9J5 related to minimum requirements of comprehensive plan, so we just directly referenced Chapter 163, Part 2 of Florida statute. You do have a concurrency management system that is in your land development code today, so we struck that portion. Also related to concurrency management is the level of service standard for potable water that we just talked about. So this was another location in the plan that was referenced, and we made that change from 105 to 96 gallons per day per capita. Oh, and there was one other. So I don't have a slide here, but there was one other policy that further down related to stormwater level of service. There was something about the buildings and your 1 foot freeboard, which is now 2 foot.
3.
3? Okay, so that, I think the time we did it, it was going to be 2. Did you go another?
We went 3.
So we need to make that change, or when you make your recommendation, ask that be modified. And then again, relative to the concurrency management system, just updating that to show that this says, the city is required to have a 5-year schedule of capital projects. Those are things that are related to your level of service standards only. You probably have a capital improvements plan, but this is a subset for those things that, if you find that you have a deficiency, which I don't believe you have a deficiency other than maybe some recreational facilities. But when we get into that element and we see that there's a deficiency, it would be good to address it somehow in your future planning, your investments. But we'll talk about that when we get to that juncture. Oh, and then we're at the end. So as I said, I'm happy to answer any specific questions you have about policies and or anything else that you have a question about. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thanks, Dan.
Oh, okay, that's it.
Would it be appropriate to bring this to the coastal resilience? Give this to Carl and let him look at this as well? There's a lot of
So Carl and I did have a conversation, and he actually provided input to the data and analysis. So we have coordinated. I think that probably everything that you guys are, and I've been kind of watching some of your meetings just to see if there's anything new. But I think that everything that you guys are envisioning is probably covered. You know, maybe not specifically, but
he was involved in it. That I just want to make sure that he knew about it because a lot of this intertwines with what how that committee is doing.
Too, that the process after tonight, if you decide that you want to adopt this and authorize staff, we will send this to the state of Florida State Land Planning Agency. It will undergo a review by not only the State Land Planning Agency, but also the other reviewing agencies such as SwiftMud, DOT, and there's a whole list of them. And so what they'll do is they'll take around, I think they have up to 60 days to return some comments, and then when they come back, they may have tweaks that they want us to make, and then you can address those at your second reading public hearing.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to open up the public hearing. I don't have anybody signed up. No sign up. So is show of hands. Anybody like to speak? Okay, so now we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Open it for motion and discussion. So go right ahead.
Make a motion to approve the first reading of Ordinance 25-728 to update the City of Port Richey comprehensive plan to align the city's plan with state statutes following the latest evaluation of appraisal notification from Florida Congress.
With the change of the base flood elevation going to 3 foot.
Right.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we got council business. Item number 4, approval of resolution number 25-23, appointing a special magistrate for code enforcement proceedings, approving the special magistrate's rate of compensation, and providing for an effective date. I'll pass it to Mr. Cobb for introduction.
No. I've been trying to get in. Is there a possible way that we can get in number 6? I mean,
to rearrange the agenda?
If that's possible.
Sure. You want to make a motion?
Just move item number 6 up to now. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Have motion and second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing that, put to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we will now table 4 until after 6. So 6 is now approval of resolution number 25-25, approving transfer of lands by quitclaim deeds and providing for an effective date. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
Yes. Council had a discussion on this sometime last year. I don't remember exactly when it was now, but we had this conversation. The city has been encroaching on property owned at 7638 Deidre Circle. We've actually paved over it. It's a basically travelway. In that, the resident, Mr. Griffin, had come forward and offered to exchange land that we've put concrete on or asphalt on for a section of a cul-de-sac that was never built, which is a little bit further along his property. And at the time, council seemed open to that. But we've put together the necessary quitclaim deeds to effectuate that transfer between the city and Mr. Griffin.
Okay. And do you need to read by title? I guess no. Good. Okay. I'll open up for motion and discussion.
So move. Motion to approve this.
A second.
One.
Okay.
Right.
Is there
Second.
a motion and a second? Any further discussion? Any public comment? Say a little something.
Long time. Jerry Griffin, 7638 Deidre Circle. And I bought this land 10 years ago. So now what you've done is given me a definite line along my property that wasn't there before. And also in the back where the circular is, I have kennels back there, so it also protects those animals. So thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else? Public comment? Okay. Seeing none, I'll bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is now. Yeah, is that why you want to move and get him out of here quicker? Yeah, but you got to stay, Jerry. when he came back and did that, I was like, when nobody wants to do that. Now I realize why. So you're free to go if you want. Okay, item number 4, which is item number 5 now, I guess, right? Okay. Approval of resolution number 25-23, appointing special magistrate for code enforcement proceedings, approving the special magistrate's rate of compensation, and providing for an effective date. I'll pass it to Mr. Coppell for introduction.
You may remember last year we brought forward Attorney Jonathan McGuire to act as the special magistrate for code enforcement proceedings. Unbeknownst to me at that time, we also had a second attorney representing the city for these code enforcement, or most appropriately, the red light camera ticket, Attorney Anna Maria Farrell. And we need to first appoint her the special magistrate and approve the rate of compensation. We have a follow-up resolution that also then appoints her as a hearing officer. Basically the same process we went through with Attorney Jonathan McGuire last year.
Okay.
No.
Freedom.
No, you did.
Okay. And they're more expensive than you are.
That's right.
Can't you be our magistrate?
I know, maybe.
Okay. Open it for motion or discussion.
Motion to approve item number 4, approval of resolution 2523, appointing special magistrate for code enforcement proceedings.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, I bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is item number 5, which is now 6. Approval of resolution number 25-24, adopting the city's special magistrate as a local hearing officer, approving the local hearing officer's rate of compensation, and providing for an effective date. I'll pass that back to Mr. Coppell for introduction.
As just a bit ago, this is the companion resolution to the previous one that appoints the special magistrate, in this case, Anna Maria Farrell, to also be a local hearing officer.
Okay. Open up for motion and or discussion.
Motion to approve resolution 25-24.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is item number 7. Approval of resolution number 25-26 for the city to sign and apply for the state revolving fund loan to finance the planning and design of a potable water plant facility. I'll pass it to Mr. Coppell for introduction. Is it potable? I guess.
Potable.
My bad.
Not necessarily a potent potable, but a potable. So this may look somewhat familiar to you. We did do this once. Once it got to the state for review, they asked that we amend it, and I'm trying to find that particular section. I think it's section 3, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Where we needed to put in there that we were authorizing me to sign for the loan application. I think the previous one had talked about it being for the facilities plan. Correct?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I have really nothing else to add. They just pretty much had a couple of word changes. It's pretty much not going to change anything about the forgiveness of the loan or nothing like that. It's just, actually, I think one of the things was just about actually calling it an application than an agreement. I think that was in that resolution. It was simple word changes.
This will finalize, as far as I know, our loan application so we can get moving forward.
Okay. Open up for motion or discussion.
Motion to approve resolution 25-26 with the changes.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, I bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item number 8, surplus of impounded vehicles. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
This request is for the surplus of 11 impounded vehicles that have been stored in the impound lot at the police department for 90 days or more. The registered owners were sent notifications via registered mail and have not responded to retrieve their vehicles. For Richey Police Department will send these vehicles to the Royal Auction Group, as is our standard practice. They'll be auctioned off through their standard practice.
Motion to approve impounded vehicles.
Okay, motion is second. Any further discussion?
Yes. Do we have any reports on how this is working with this vendor?
So to date, we've only actually had a few that have gone through with them. And you'll notice in here some of the relative case numbers go back a little bit in time. There were quite a few where we had processed the paperwork to go to Tampa Machinery prior to Tampa Machinery ceasing. And now to switch it over, the process DMV requires us to do the notification process and all that again. So it started the time frame over again that we had it.
So this is our first big load going to this vendor.
Yeah.
So this will be a good test.
Yeah, and here's a process of them here that you've already approved that are going through. So we're catching up on the ones that were lagged behind because of that change.
And the other question I had is there's an item here, 2018 KYMCATV. Is there any interest in owning that? I don't know what that is. Is that something the city could utilize?
So
or is it junk?
If it's the piece of equipment that I'm picturing in my head, it would make a perfect boat anchor for a yacht.
Okay. That's all.
After you remove the fluids and oils.
Huh?
Great. It's had a very short and rough life, I guess, huh? There's also a workhorse RV. I guess is this a camper that we impounded? The workhorse RV? Or is it
2000? It's 25 years old.
Yeah. I'm just curious that story on that.
Yeah, I believe that's the large fifth wheel trailer that's out in the back, again in rather rough shape.
So did we pull somebody over pulling it, and then they actually got the vehicle but left the camper?
So it was a I believe it was a dually pickup truck pulling the camper. Both were impounded and brought in, and the paperwork was done on both. And I'm not sure if the vehicle has already gone, and the camper is now to follow. But it's in rough shape.
Yeah. Okay. So I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Second.
No, we already got that.
No.
Do you want to talk about anything?
No.
Okay.
That would be a third.
It's a third.
I got a third, actually.
I'm making sure.
Let the record show we have a third.
Very thorough.
A public comment? Seeing none, I put to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is item number 9, City Hall and Police Department cable infrastructure replacement. I'll pass that to Mr. Copper for introduction.
You may recall from the fiscal year 25 budget process, staff had requested money in the, I think it was our Penny for Pasco fund to pay for a rewiring of City Hall and the Police Department. The cabling that we have in here for our IT is a few generations old, and as we're trying to get everything up to the current standard, we wanted to redo the cabling, and so we went out. IT has spoken to, I think, 3 vendors, getting quotes. Staff believes they can complete the project for the selected vendor for $24,797.35, and this would be putting in Cat 6A shielded cable throughout both the police department and City Hall. And we do have our IT person, George Albrecht, here. So I don't know if you have any prepared comments.
You can.
you maybe can ask some questions.
Answer
Go
some
ahead.
questions.
Is this part,
Yeah.
is this part of the thing to maybe do the emergency?
Well, ultimately, everything we're doing is towards that. But again, I don't know if you wanted to make any comments. I'm giving you both the chance to say something before you get grilled.
We initially set the CIP project aside for 33,000. That was our initial contact with a vendor to give us a rough estimate. With talking with all three vendors, what this will do will provide new cabling for both the police department and city hall, especially with the new CGIS compliance and the new company that we brought on with Thrive. This is the next step as far as renewing our IT infrastructure for both departments. And for the entire building. The cabling is 25 years old. This is basically this type of the Cat 6A shielded is pretty much to future proof to go forward for the next 20 years. So and just to point out a typo, the price is $24,797. I see here that I wrote down 27. That's not correct. It's $24,797.35. So I just wanted to point that out because I just noticed it in the cover page. George, our IT specialist, has had all three vendors here to investigate the city hall and police department and how they were going to run it. What we want to do is actually a 2-drop system for each user, which will basically provide a separate phone line and a line for the desktop. Right now, the phone lines, because they're internet based, are connected to the desktop. So if your phone fails, the desktop fails. So we want to definitely separate both those together. So we're open for any questions.
Was there thought process into future technologies down the road, growth? Will we be prepared, say 25 years from now, we still have this set up for anything that may be coming down the road, to the point where maybe we could put a thank you note on our time capsule, like you're welcome maybe in our time capsule.
George, you can come up here and jump in at any time. Actually, just come up to the podium.
I can be rather loud anyway.
The big thing is, we want to
George,
go to
yeah, sorry.
the speakers will want to pick you up.
I'm sure they can hear me. So, George Ulbrich, 633 Ridge Road. Okay. So, big thing is, over the years, necessity has cable not be compliant with building code. So we have a bunch of stuff up in that runs just across the drop ceiling, not hooked on with J hooks, not up to the red iron. So that's a big part of it is actually recovering all of that old cabling out there. So the big thing, you have Cat 6, which is out there. It works, but again, the Cat 6A, which is augmented, big thing is between the two is the 6 is 250 megahertz, while the 6A is 500 megahertz, which just means you can push more data down the line. The Cat 6A is much better at handling PoE, power over Ethernet, which again, depending on number of devices and things like that, you can push 90 watts of electricity down Cat 6A. Let's see. So Cat 6, you get 10 gig throughput at 55 meters, which is about 165 feet. And Cat 6A, you get 10 gigs down 100 meters, which is, I think, 364 feet. So you could theoretically pump 10 gigs to every workstation if we have the switch infrastructure to support that. Now, again, we don't have that today, but in 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, that's definitely going to provide that scalability for the city as technology keeps moving on.
What cable we have now?
5E.
5E. Okay.
Again, it will push a gig. 5E will push 10 gig about 33 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we, when we discussed it with the vendors and that, because you're up to Cat 8 available now?
So Cat 8 is more of a data center thing. It's a much
day, but I guess my question is, if we're trying to future proof, it's not much difference in cost, maybe we should go ahead and Cat 7, Cat 8.
It is much more expensive, but again, one of the things is you can push 40 gig on Cat 8. But again, the runs have to be much shorter, so it's really more for data centers and switches that can incorporate that. 6A has quite a bit of future proofing. Again, 10 gigs, it'll be a while before the city can do anything real with 10 gigs to the desktop, but it could be just around the corner. You know, technology continues to move forward. So I think that kind of hits it. Cat 6A. Again, there's also Cat 7, but again, we were looking at cost, the ability for the vendor to actually certify the cabling, which with the vendor that we have chosen, we'll also get total certification via PDFs, documentation. Things will get cleaned up in the grand scheme of things, and we'll just be able to slowly glide into the future.
We also wanted to stay within the confines of our size. You know, going to an 8, 7, 7 or an 8. Once again, we're not. If we were going to double the size of our employees and expand, the size of the building, absolutely, we'd look into something like that. But we don't see that happening in any foreseeable future. Expanding that many employees, one, 2 or 3 here and there, sure. But we've the same amount of employees has been here for several years, and I don't see that expanding or doubling anytime soon. So we tried to stay within the confines. Obviously, budget was a big thing. And we want to do this changeover because, like I said, the wiring up there is not hanging up there correctly. There's some rodent issues that in some areas, and the fact that it's been there for 25 years. So that's why we want to do that.
Any questions?
No, I'm going to take your word for that.
What is the cost per foot difference between 6A and 7? Is it?
I would have to go back and look at notes, but it's not as easy to run. I mean, it just becomes more of a problem for the technicians to run it and then keep it connected and keep it.
Yeah.
And then we just have to change a few more things, but I guess we could look at that. But
well, I guess so. Where's I ask because if it's $25,000 is what we're at. Is that what it is?
Yeah, 24.
What's that?
20.
So let's just say it's $25,000. If it was another $1,000 to put Cat 7 in, maybe it's worth it.
No. It would be.
And that's obviously.
Yeah, it would be much more significant than that.
That's what I was asking. Because I imagine a lot of the work and cost is in running it and all that, which.
And also the vendor will run it, but we won't. The cutover will be done after hours, so there'll be no real impact to any of the, except for PD, and we'll work with them.
Okay.
Yeah, I noticed that 2 of these vendors indicated a single drop, and this particular vendor you're selected as a double drop. Did they get different requirements? How did that come about?
We did get a single drop from that vendor, but that vendor that we chose was actually able to give us the double drops for under 25,000.
Right, but did the other ones get an opportunity to put on the double drops?
Yeah, and they were just.
Why don't we have a like-to-like comparison here? It's easier to sell to me, if you're saying I got double drop from A, B, and C, but I've got a single drop and a single drop and a double drop.
We just didn't include those double drops because they were more money.
I certainly understand, but I'm thinking in the future, if that's the answer, let's do a like-to-like comparison because we're trying to weed out where the problems are or what's the best deal. So obviously, if we need a double drop, obviously when the initial quotes went out, they went out with a single requirement, correct? So something changed, right?
No, we were looking for double drops all the way around.
Okay, but they quoted a single drop.
Yeah, because they still wanted to be part of the party.
Okay.
Anything above 25,000, we have to go out to bid. Any other quotes that they quoted us were way above that.
Yeah.
So
We were up in the 30s.
we told them that we needed the prices to stay within a certain amount, or this project would have to go out to bid. So each vendor provided us a quote under $25,000.
What we want to know is why was it that much more money? Do we have any details of why? Is there something that we're missing here that we don't see it? That's all.
And why did, if you tell them, hey, it got to come in under 25, you've already given them an
Yeah, I was
answer.
just gonna say, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Why
I would have never given an answer like that. I would have suggested that, hey, this is what we're trying to do. Put your best foot forward.
Maybe it would be beneficial to go to bid.
I don't know.
Maybe we have no idea. Tell them.
Yep.
I understand why you guys did that, but from
I
our
think
aspect, we were missed out on all that.
Well,
I don't know what happened.
We did. Most of the bids were well over $25,000. So we said to the vendors, "Look, guys, if you want to play, I need a quote under $25,000." And these are what we got.
Oh, so the first conversations was all their stuff was over 25.
Yeah.
So
everybody was over
it's
20.
plausible to believe that if you put it out to bid, you're going to be somewhere above 25,000. So what he's basically saying is that, hey, we said,
No, I get it. I just
give us your best
we
price
didn't-
under 25.
We
and
didn't
we'll
have the
consider.
whole story. That's all. That's all. That's
Okay.
for clarity.
I was just curious what the reward is for this rodent that caused criminal measures from destruction of property. Is there an ongoing investigation? Are we seeing special markings?
We do have a detective now too. We get on that.
About the
I just wondered. I mean, I can get a rodent. I don't know what their award money is.
Yeah.
Hope he doesn't cause any more problems. We're spending $25,000.
Now, are these guys going to ferret out all the rodents in the process and try to corral them at one end of the building and then?
I don't think we have any fresh rodent, but when we were doing some work with the cameras, there was some notice that there was some chewing of lines.
Oh.
And, yeah.
There's a cat up there now.
We don't want any more future problems with our $25,000. So I just wondered.
Okay.
To approve something. Cat 6A shielding dual shot cable infrastructure by GPC Payroll.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, bring back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item number 10, discussion and approval of outsourcing payroll functions. I'll pass that to Mr. Copper for introduction.
So I'm going to turn this over to the finance director, Adam Thompson, here in a second. But I just want to say that since Adam's been with us, he's been looking at a lot of different of our processes and is bringing forward a number of different improvements. This is one of the many things that he has brought forward. And so I'll turn it over to him to talk a little bit more about what it is and why he believes it would be a good thing for the city to proceed this way.
You have the floor, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, like you said, when I got hired, one of the biggest things, Mr. Coupler. It's on.
Yeah, it's on.
Do you want to stand up at the podium?
Just use your big boy voice.
Sorry.
Lean in.
Yeah, lean in.
No, it detects.
Mine doesn't move.
Turn it side, twist it.
So one of the things he tasked me with when he hired me is to obviously get a new system. Our system is very outdated for how we do our payroll. One of the things I noticed when I got here was that we had no security when we send our payroll out or our check stubs out. All the information is sent through email, and it's all record requestable. So also I found that we just the way we do payroll as far as hand keying the big departments in, like fire department, police department, public works, and stuff like that, we're really relying on them to tell us what time they got here, tell us what time they left, and really working on an honor system as far as, did I take a day off or didn't I take a day off? So what I tried to do originally was just get a clock in and out system that would tie into Black Mountain, which was really what I was looking for. But going through the motions to do that, I found Paylocity. And so I was like, well, that's a pretty neat little situation. So I went out and looked at several different vendors on this. And one of the biggest things we have is, Paylocity itself
So out of all these, our choice is going to be Paylocity, and one of those reasons is because the way we pay here, we pay by percentages on a lot of our employees. I get paid out of the 4 different funds. Sal gets paid out of 4 different funds. All the other rest of these weren't able to accommodate that. So it was all, you got to be paid out of just Public Works or paid out of this. Paylocity is, what they're going to do is they're going to build the back end for us. So they're going to cater it to our needs, not so much, we're not doing a template. They're going to come in and really build it to us. This will include a time clock, so people will be required to clock in when they come in. They clock in from their desk. So yeah, they do have the option of clocking in from their phone and stuff like that, but I think, the desk thing is a really well thing. Also, we don't have a way, so every month I have to send out their sick time and vacation time. This will give them a portal. They can go in there, they can reprint all their pay stubs, they can look at their time off, they can do time off requests, stuff like that. How we monitor it right now is we put it on a calendar. And, if we don't put it on a calendar, I know for me, sometimes it's hard when I'm doing payroll, when payroll comes, to know that, John took a day off on Thursday 2 weeks ago. It's just really hard. And if they don't put it on that calendar, or if they come in, if they called out sick and don't come in and put it on, it's like I've got a lot to do, then sit around and look at the calendar and make sure John put that 8 hours holiday on there. Not that everybody is misleading or, not trustworthy, but that fact is, if one person misses that, you're talking $300. That adds up when you have 68 employees and kind of go from there. So this is a very good, I know the price is kind of out of whack, but I think what you're getting with this is you're getting a platform where we can do everything paperless. We're going to be able to, with these employee portals, is go in there. We're going to be able to do our open enrollment through there. Right now it's done by paper and stuff like that. Open enrollment's going to be there. Our W-2s are going to be there. Everything's going to be there. They pay all of our liabilities and payroll. So it's just like we do now. Mary pays all of our liabilities. I go in and approve them to be paid. They pay all of our liabilities, including the taxes. The only thing I'd be responsible to pay on our side is the retirement thing of it. But what also you're getting with this, and another problem that we're having here in the city, is our onboarding and our HR system. The Black Mountain's HR system is not compatible with almost anything we do here, and we are growing. I mean, it was probably good 10 years ago when we had 25 employees or whatever, but now we're just a little too big to not have an HR department. One of those things this gives us, it's included in this price, is it gives us a way to recruit. Right now, we go out to Indeed, we recruit from Indeed, and that's kind of our pool. This gives us the opportunity to shoot it out to Career Builder. I don't even know the rest of them. A lot of different ones. We can choose which ones we do. Of course, we pay for that just like we do right now. But what we would do is we would fill out a job request form, send it in there to them, and they would do all the back work on the back end and basically recruit for us. So it kind of takes that role. I mean, we're not letting them hire for us or anything, but they're pushing these people to us, which is a lot better than I think how we recruit right now. Also, it gives us the ability to onboard. So that means that if I hire Mr. Mueller, I send him stuff all throughout the week. Right now, everybody comes in here, they come in and fill out their paperwork. Here, they do it at their leisure, on their own time, at home. We send it to them and say, hey, fill out your I-9, pull it in. So we have a record of that. So this is a much needed thing. I think in the long run, it's going to save us a lot of money. And I'm kind of excited about that. As far as taking it doesn't really take a whole lot of more work off of me. It'll save me a little bit of time, but I'm still doing those things like approving it, going through it. They're going to send journal vouchers over. I'm going to verify them and go through those. But what it will do is it'll take off the error or the human mistakes that we make whenever Marie is putting those in. And, especially during holidays and stuff, it's a really hard thing to get, the police departments and the fire departments and everybody, because we're changing times and we're changing this and doing things earlier. So it really takes that human element out of it for us and takes the liability out of it for us. So if we forget to pay someone, God forbid, then it's on the company to make that right. Right now, we don't have any other way. So when I do payroll, we have to wait a solid till the very next week to do any type of payroll. So if I do miss someone, I have to do a bonus run, and that has to be the very next week. And right now, we don't have the opportunity also to pay out. We have to do that in a bonus cycle as well. So if someone leaves or whatever that way. Now, the price does that $1662 includes our volunteer firefighters, because we do pay them a reimbursement. But what I've decided to do is we don't have to do that. So we'll do reimbursement through for our accounts payable department. So we'll just cut them a check or send them through that way. We don't have to go through the payroll system. So we'll actually cut 1128 out of all, I think I want to say 12 to 15 volunteer firefighters that we won't have to pay for. Because even though we only pay them every 3 months, they're going to be charged every month in there. So we can take that, we can eliminate those out of there and let it go through accounts payable. Any questions?
Yeah, a few questions.
Sure.
You talked about clocking in and out as far as like the fire department. Is there going to be a clock over there for them to clock in and out?
So they can clock from any computer. And I've talked to George, just like out in Public Works, they'll set up a computer there. When you come in, you'll be able to clock in from there.
So any desk anywhere in the city?
Any desk anywhere.
Okay.
This actually has the ability, you can clock in from your phone if we allow that to happen. I'm not sure that's something that we would want to do, but we have that ability.
I personally used Paychecks years ago, and they were very, very good company as far as being personal. And they had options as far as investment if they wanted to get into a retirement investment opportunity. They had good programs with that as well.
So I did. The only thing with them was they weren't able to.
To do the back end. I see.
Right.
That's
huge.
huge.
That's the only. They're fantastic people.
But does Paylocity have that option?
Paylocity is building it for us. So yes, they actually did a mock one, sent us a journal voucher where it actually showed that my pay was being out of general fund and utility. So it worked with what they were willing to
And
build
they had
for us.
retirement investment opportunities that the employees could choose from if they.
Yeah, everything that we do now is going to be in there.
Okay.
So right now, so like for hurricanes, for instance, I couldn't go in there and create a hurricane overtime, or right now for some of the we only use holiday pay for just the police department. So because it doesn't work in every aspect of it, so we don't pay. You can't look on some of our paychecks and see holiday pay. It only works in like the police department. I don't know why, but that's the way it is. This will allow us to. We can go in if another hurricane comes and we want to say, okay, we want to hire. We want to see where the hurricane money is going. We can have them clock in and fix it under that overtime. We can pull that report and say, okay, this is what we spent on overtime for hurricanes. Right now, it's just built in, or it's just a report of every overtime we've had.
And you think this will pay for itself as far as safety?
I think it will. I mean, I just the human error itself and the fact that putting people. I mean, I don't want to say everybody's dishonest, but I work in finance. Everybody is dishonest, and I think that we, as a
That famous quote.
you should write that down.
Yeah.
Finance
director, famous quotes.
And not so much on purpose, but we forget. And like I said, if you have one person a week, I mean, you're talking $300 a week times 52 weeks. It turns out to be a lot of money. And I can guarantee you that we're doing that. And I can almost guarantee it somewhere in this city, someone is taking advantage of overtime, and somebody's taking advantage of someone not being there at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock when they walk in and things like that. So I really do believe it will pay for itself.
Well, thanks. We appreciate you, Adam.
I got a couple questions.
I do
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
I also do have
Okay.
comments
Well,
on- Who's going to go first?
let me go first.
All right.
Because I want to ask them. You guys might ask the same one of things.
I doubt it.
I feel like talking tonight for some reason. So
Drive somewhere?
I do.
And your point?
So the back end Black Mountain just has the capability of that. I've heard that Black Mountain isn't the greatest finance package. Do you see us staying with Black Mountain?
No, I'm in the process right now. I have been in the process of looking at other options for us.
Okay, so
yeah, we're not going to stay Black Mountain.
So that being said, this probably that aligning to Black Mountain is important right now, but in probably the very near future may cause us a problem, right? So that's one thing I wanted to ask about. The other thing, it says 1128 is a cost per employee.
Right.
If I take 1662 and I divide by 70, how many employees we got?
68, he said.
Okay, so I use 70. If I divide 1662 by 70, I get 23.74.
He's also including the volunteer.
Yeah.
Which we don't have.
Well, what number are we dividing by to get 1128? Because
So I actually
we have to like 140 to get down there.
I mean, I don't want to lie to you.
And that's taking the implementation fee, out just using the straight monthly fee.
Yeah, so they have 1128, but it's $68 at 2150, so it'd be two payrolls. So that's 1128 per payroll. That comes out to be 1662. So, yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, it's 68 employees at 2150 is what they have on here. So it comes out to the 16.
That's the two paychecks per month, so you have to double it.
This is about 26 paychecks, not per month.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's 26 paychecks.
Per paycheck.
Yeah, because we pay it per paycheck.
That's why it was double, so that makes sense. Yeah. And then, where's my other thing I had? Did you look at, and I see that there's 4 vendors here. Workday is kind of the de facto standard for HR, payroll, and all that among bigger companies. Did we look at them? Just, I don't know, it's probably too expensive. But
I only researched them a little bit. I didn't go look at them, do any demos with them. I mean, it's something I can do. But my thought process with this is that we're going to pay by the month. So if we decide in September we don't want to do this anymore, it's not going to cost us anything. So my thing is we want to do this. Also look at other options as far as systems. And if we get a system, I'll be honest with you, some of the systems that I've looked at so far, it doesn't integrate well with the payroll. You're not allowed to do things that they allow you to do on here. So if we find one, like let's say we go with BNSNA and their payroll works for us and it seems like something that will grow with us, we can cut this out and go back to that. And at that point, we'll be able to see, is this working for us and does it make much sense for us? But we can quit this anytime we want.
It's month to month, basically. So.
Right.
And then my last question is what are we paying now per month?
We don't pay a whole lot. I actually was going to look that up today. I forgot, but it's maybe $5,000 for the two on the back. But when you look at that, at the $5,000 per year.
Per year.
Yeah, just for that payroll module. But again, you're not allowed to. You can't upgrade that at all whatsoever. Right. So what we have is, so for instance, we're talking about going to a PTO system. We can't. Well, we can, but then we'd have. So right now, the way it is we have a thing that says, hey, if you've been here 5 years, you get an extra week. If we go to a PTO system, it won't allow us to back in build that. We'd have to go in every month and say, okay, Sal's been here for 5 years, he gets an extra week. So with this and with any other system you should be able to just go in there and click that and do that payroll. But it blocks us from being able to grow or do better things.
So if we take 20,000, we subtract off the 5,000, impacts 15.
Correct.
HR recruiting stuff. Are we able to cancel something on HR recruiting side as well? I'm trying to figure out what the actual financial impact is.
The financial impact, for us, it's just going to be that $3,500, and then we're running it from till the end of September. But again, the HR recruiting side, we don't use that module, but it's built into our costs on the Black Mountain. So and it's very novel.
So we're going to be paying for it on the Black Mountain side anyway.
Right. So we pay for it anyway. It comes as a thing. And actually, with this, we don't have a clock in out system, but we also, with Black Mountain, pay for our clock in and out system. We don't have it. It's just something that's built into our payroll module.
Okay.
So, but if we wanted to do that, we'd have to pay a little bit more. But it's already like a built-in price for us.
So basically, impact about $15,000.
Right.
For the year. Okay. I'll go with you first.
I'm actually shocked that we're still doing paper system. I've been doing payroll for 35 years, and I started 35 years ago doing paper with cards and putting down and documenting it out, and nothing.
You don't look that old.
Thank you. The check's in the mail. Nothing makes an employee more mad than their paycheck being wrong. Nothing makes an employee more mad than if they didn't get the right differential. Talking about the off-shift people, it really ticks people off. To be able to go in and look and see your actual how much PTO you have available is an employee satisfier. So I think this is obviously long time overdue, 35 years overdue, and yeah. So I think it's for our employees. It's very important.
Right. I think with this, like we haven't upgraded in any time at all. So when you look at this cost, you say it's going to be a $15,000 impact. You have to look at the inflation of the fact that we've been doing it a crappy way for the last
Yeah.
10, 15 years and not growing with it. So, and the amount of
You really
benefit
are.
that we took from our employees, you have to factor that in there too.
You're going to
That's
save a
what-
lot of time on employees because I mean I did 70 employees for 3 or 4 years. Well, I'd done it paper-wise 3 or 4 years. I did it, and then I went to computer. But the time it cost, I would literally sit there all night Sunday night before the day before payroll with all their time cards and doing it. It's going to be a huge time saver. Yes, you're going to have to still go into the computer and verify it, and you're going to have to do all that sort of stuff. I don't know the process here, but we would have to go in and have to verify everything. But it's so much easier than the other way, and it's going to help our employees, even the people approving it. It's going to free up some time. It's not a hands-off process, but it's going to free up some time for them to do other things. So I think it's phenomenal. Good job.
Dave?
Yeah. First of all, you indicated there's not going to be much difference in your workload with the new system versus the other system, but they are doing something that you're not. So there is some benefit there. Can you quantify that?
Yeah, so with me, it's a two-part system right now we do. So Marie does most of the inputting and I do the verifying. So I make sure I pull the reports, I verify it in there. I'll still be doing that throughout this. What we're doing is we're eliminating that work from Marie and those human errors from her. So really, she probably in payroll every month, every pay week is about 5 or 6 hours. It's not a huge amount of time, but there's been, since when I first got here in August, we've been doing bonus runs to fix things because we miss things. When you're inputting things, you miss things. So we fixed that, but there's still little issues here and there, and we're fixing them. But I can't fix them with this. I can go in today. So if I didn't pay Sal on Thursday, I can go in Friday and make sure that he gets paid. And I can do that. Here, I have to wait until the next week when the cycle starts all over again.
If I could real quick, the other piece of that you did bring up is that if during the pay week our employee is not available, off, sick, whatever, it would fall to Adam then to do all that work.
In other words, he's going to get an exception report that's out of the system now. He's got to do the work. But in the future, we'll get an exception report that somebody didn't enter their time on a certain day.
No. What I was saying is if the employee within finance that does regularly the payroll input and everything, if that person's not available, that work falls on his shoulders to do that.
That's right.
Under this, if that individual's not there, he's not doing it.
Right.
So there is a savings that happens with that.
Right.
As well as I think, again, when these bonus runs have to happen, there's a lot of work that happens that he is again underselling what he does.
Which is what I was trying to bring out. Yeah. I mean, you're trying to sell us on this idea, but there's benefits that I don't think you've captured.
Absolutely.
And it's going to make your case stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
But
I just wanted to know that they're there.
Yeah, they're there, and I don't want to say this is going to save me an hour or 2 hours. Right. I don't know, because I'll tell you at the beginning it'll probably take me a little more time. But I think the important thing we do here is that when we as a company are trying to say, okay, Daryl, you're in charge of your budget.
Yeah.
This allows him to make better decisions on who, what, when, where, and why. So when he sends me over that payroll, if it's wrong, it's on him. Right now, it's on us because he sent it to us. It's handwritten. If I misconstrue a 6 for an 8 or an 8 for a 6, and this way they know, they can see, okay, well, John's been out for 3 days this week. You don't see that when you're handwriting these things because he may not see that person all week. I don't know, but this gives the department heads a little more push to say, okay, this is what we have. Maybe look at it a little bit more, and that's really kind of what we want. We want them to be more responsible for their time and things like that. As far as me, it will eventually make it a little easier for me. We're moving journal vouchers. I'm verifying those things. It ultimately, this is going to be cleaner for everybody. How that's going to look for me at this moment, I know that it'll take me a little bit of time to watch those journal entries because nobody does journal entries the same way. So it'll probably take me a little more time at the beginning. But yeah, absolutely, this is going to clean up a little bit more of my time that I can push towards other things. Absolutely.
And I also want to then go to the department, especially police and fire. This program also has a scheduling feature to it, and I think again that makes those Mondays of payroll week a lot easier than for the departments to get through their work, right? Because at that point you're doing it by exception more than anything else. And I will not speak for any of them, but one of them sitting right there. I mean, there's a lot of push that happens on a Monday to get everything in. And again, mistakes aren't happening because they want to make mistakes. They're happening because they're in a rush to get everything to there. Where with a system like this, Mondays are going to be a little bit lower key because all that information is there. You know, I know, although I've never used this, but I've had enterprise systems that has done similar type things. It's a lot easier to go through a report, say, yep, that person was there. They worked, 40 hours that week. Check.
You mentioned scheduling. Are you able to schedule vacation in the future, and it goes to the supervisor to either yay or nay it, or block?
Yes, and
that's block that time so somebody else can't go and take that same.
Absolutely, and that's one of those big things with the PTO time. Yeah, you go in there and you say, I want to be off on the 5th. I'm going on vacation. It's there and it's on the calendar, like on that scheduling shift. So I use Daryl because he's first on my mind. But Daryl can look at that and say, okay, I got somebody out. We reshuffle this. Right now, I mean, and the same thing with sick days. I mean, there's no way to track it on what you're using. I mean, because Daryl is busy, I'm busy, so it's hard. He's got 15 people out there or whatever the case may be. It's hard to know that someone took off on Thursday 2 weeks ago. So he's going to turn it in, and this is just. And I agree with Linda. There's no reason at this stage in our lives in this city with 68 employees that we should be doing anything hand keyed anymore. I mean, turning in timesheets. I mean, we just got to get away from that, and it's just it's silly at this point.
Are we able to establish time codes on the fly?
Yes, and that's one of those things I absolutely
for tracking grants and applying time to projects and isolating those costs so that we can use it to do grant reconciliation and reporting on grants.
Yeah, yes to. Well, I don't want to say yes to that. She's actually looking to see if that can be built into the back end. Right now, we can go in there and watch that. One of Mr. Koppler's questions when I first brought this to him was, how do we track what we need? Right now, there's in the way that it's built on the front end, or the way we want it, where we're building 15% here, 12% here on our pay. Normally, what would happen is I'd get paid out of Public Works, but if I need to go over and turn off water, I'd move to the water department. She's trying to, and I have not got a definitive answer on it yet, but she's supposed to be finding me a way that we can, if I am Public Works and I need to go turn off, and I'm doing water turnoffs for this day, I can check that. It's not going to affect how I'm paid, but I'll be able to pull a report and say, okay, we need an extra water person because we're using Public Works to turn off water more times than not. So those things are not. I don't have a definitive answer to that. It does what we need it to do better than absolutely 100% better than what we have right now. So any added thing to that. Also, I want to add, Paylocity has a numerous amount of not just recruiting and HR, but all kinds of risk management, things like that. Those things that we can always add on when we need it. Right now, our problem with HR and things like that is that we don't have a clear path. We have boards that are made and are adjusted throughout the years to match those things. Here, this gives us a way that if we do decide to go away with them when we get a new system, we have those templates in place and we know what we're doing and we can follow that path. Right now, we don't have an idea of what to do, but this will give us that idea of what to do. And it's something we need, especially on the HR side and on the payroll side.
If we move to another system, financial system, enterprise reporting system, and we need to back away from this company because that particular system we go with may have a module. Mm-hmm. Are they going to be hitting us up for any of this back-end work that they're developing?
No, that's all in the 3,000. We own all of our information. We can download it. It's ours. And when we do leave, we take anything we want with us that isn't their proprietary stuff. So if they make a template for us, we can make our own, but we obviously can't take theirs.
So you get all kind of reporting out of this. Are the reports exportable?
Right. And
into Excel or something so you can do analysis?
Right. And that was one of the things I asked her because we don't know. I'll be honest with you. We don't know what we need because we don't have anything. So once we get in there and start digging around, we may find that we don't need that HR side at all. Maybe but it's included. Right. But we can go in there and fish around for things that we can look at and say, oh my gosh, this is so much better than what we've been doing, and we can track it better. I'm hoping that that's going to be the case here because I really, I really think that we need to be more electronic and stuff like that. So, but yeah, everything that we own is everything. It's ours, is ours, and when we leave, it's ours, and it'll be, they're not going to hide anything from us or pull anything back from us.
Is there any interest in changing to a one pay per month instead of many? And does that affect the price?
I could ask about that. I actually went 10 years getting paid once a month. It was a thing. I just don't know that. I don't know that that's a popular thing.
A satisfier for employees,
Yeah.
probably not.
Yeah, especially for
Especially for somebody that makes,
paycheck,
It
paycheck.
challenges people to budget with their money, though.
I
It's
agree
a
with
good
you.
growth thing.
I agree with you.
And then you indicated that we're paying for a module that we can potentially cancel. That's a $5,000 benefit here. So once we get up and running, are we using that module today?
Yeah, that's what we use to do payroll.
Okay. So until we transition over, that's going to be.
There's going to be some overlap with it eventually, but yeah, it's already paid
There'll be a
for this year.
bubble.
Yeah. So we'll be able to prorate. Hopefully get our money back
And
from it.
you're comfortable with all the reporting that you're seeing that the system's capable of doing.
Yeah, they sent me over the JVs and all that kind of stuff, and they're pretty simple. I mean, they're actually a little bit better than the ones we use right now in Black Mountain.
And it'll do the W-2s, W-9s.
Those things. So
99s.
yeah. So there is a extra cost to that at the end of the year. They will do all the reporting for us, and they will print and mail them. We can print and mail them here off of that system, but for us, if we want them to print and mail the 1099s and the W-2s, I want to say it was like $540.
They file the 940s and 41s.
Yep, they do all that for you,
Okay.
and I think it's like $540 to do that. I think I spent $300 and something on
Your
W-2s.
time alone.
Well, on W2, just getting the W-2s for this year, getting them shipped here. So I mean, that's a cost savings there.
Yeah, good.
Did we look at ADP at all?
I hit ADP up twice, and they never responded to me.
It's too small.
Well,
They started it,
but they do have 6 free months.
They do, but I mean, to run into it, I mean, all these other, Bamboo HR and APS and Paychecks are big, and they weren't able to accommodate us. I think I don't know the ADP, I don't know, but like for someone that will come in and back end build it for us based off of our needs, I think it's something that's just worth it.
No, I think we also need much better than we have for sure. It's when you look at $11 to cut a paycheck for every employee, kind of hurts. But I'd rather give $11 more to the employee. But that's these things have costs. So any other discussion?
Motion to approve Paylocity for the payroll services.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, put a vote on favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next up. Is number 11, City of Port Richey, Ajax Paving Industries quote based on contract 19970. I'll pass that to Mr. Cobb for introduction.
Yeah, we wanted to circle back with council. We've been working with Ajax. Of course, they're the company that we piggybacked the contract on and did the contract for the ARPA money to do paving this current year. After meeting with them a few different times with staff, they gave us some proposals on some larger projects that we wanted to look at doing. You can see that we have quotes from them for doing Bay Boulevard, Old Post Road, and River Golf. After looking at the cost, at this point, we would like to have concurrence to move forward with the Bay Boulevard milling and paving to get that started. Now, obviously, there's going to be a little bit money left over from that, and so we'll start working with them potentially on doing maybe one smaller street if possible with this. Time-wise, I think they're telling us it's be about 6 weeks from the go-ahead to get to this. So we would have that time period to work out the remainder of the money and what they'd be able to do.
Elevating Bay Boulevard.
That is not elevating Bay Boulevard.
So that's what I guess.
All this is going to mill and resurface. currently, this includes doing, I think, most of, if not all the returns, so all the side streets. That's something that we do want to look at a little bit closer, and there may be some side streets where we don't need to do those returns, and that would be a savings as part of this. You know, the reality of elevating Bay Boulevard, we're probably talking about a project that's in the $10 million range easily, as well as trying to deal with how do we raise the surrounding property so we don't create a lot of drainage issues. So we don't have that wherewithal financially to do that project, so it's going to have to be something funded by the state or federal government. That means studies. That means a lot of engineering. We're talking tens of years down the road before we get there.
So we really, it wouldn't be prudent to keep Bay Boulevard the way it is, knowing we're going to raise it. We got quite a ways out before we would probably do that.
My guess is that generally with a curb street, you get 25 to 30 years of life out of this type of treatment. We'll probably, because there's a lot of uncurbed area, we'll get a good 10 to 15 years if we maintain it, do the things we should be doing in the interim, with crack sealing and things like that. And so it's not wasted money, but the fact is right now, if we don't do anything to Bay Boulevard, we're going to lose large sections of that road. And it's just going to be a maintenance nightmare. So I think there really isn't a lot of choice in my mind with this. Old Post Road, where we're looking from Bay Boulevard to Coon, is again in that range as well. And we really need to be thinking about how we're going to be able to afford that one. And again, River Golf is another one that we have a lot of issues with. We did put money aside in the CRA, and I think actually River Golf Drive is a really good project to look at for the CRA.
Is that what we put in about 250?
No, we actually put in 500,000.
Oh, 500?
Yeah. So that would be a really good project to look, but I'd also be looking at the sidewalks on there because of where it's at, because we're thinking of creating that downtown type of area there where this would intersect with Grand Boulevard. I think this would be a really good project to look at that. So that'd be the next thing that we'd be doing, is looking probably at the River Golf. But we're probably going to have to go back to Old Post Road. There's a couple of areas where we're probably going to have to section in some way, just to keep it together in those areas. So we're just looking for consensus from council to move forward with Bay Boulevard.
Any objections to Bay Boulevard?
Motion would.
We've got consensus.
Okay.
You don't need a motion, do we? Consensus good here? Yeah. So,
Well, we're going to.
because they're going to come back to us probably to sign the.
Well, we have the agreement with them already. You approved
already
the
approved it.
450,000, right?
We approved it to get out of the end of the time frame. Right?
Yeah. So we have that authority, but I didn't want to just go ahead and do it without talking to you guys first.
Sure.
So we're on board. So, okay.
And so again, we're probably looking 6 weeks down the road-ish, but we'll start working with them and talk about what the remainder would be after that.
Yeah. Any public comment? Okay. Next up is old business. Discussion old business. Any old business?
The limestone pier. I'm sorry, you go ahead.
It's out.
No, yeah, it's gone.
Well, not completely.
They got turbidity barrier there and some rocks. I did see.
Well, they still got that
Marker out in the water.
They got they got the concrete in the middle of the channel, and I was just wondering if they have supposed to be getting into the mud, supposed to have it removed.
Well, I'd asked that question actually yesterday, I believe, and what we got back was they had removed that concrete.
And why is the market?
It's still there.
I'll confirm with Daryl, but from what Daryl told us is that they did take that out, but they were also waiting for we had to get the drawings for the water main that's running underneath the river.
Yeah.
The SC Signature wanted to make sure where the depths were before they finished that project on that side where the water main is. So we just received that from U.S. Water today, and then so Daryl's going to relay that information to SC Signature so we can wrap that project up. Coastal Engineering has also been touching base with them about finalizing and finishing that project up. So they still have work to do and finish everything up.
Yeah, you
And
have.
we'll make sure that everything is done as far as what, the grade and everything that needs to be as per the drawings of the bid. So
How are you going to do that? Are you going to dive down there?
Coastal Engineering will do that and make sure that it's done to spec. So they've been constantly in contact with SC Signature.
Okay.
Anything else, old business?
Yep.
Go ahead.
We were going to follow up on a goals review that's in process.
Yep.
Okay. We talked about working out a plan to add the CAC to the recorded activities. You guys working through that?
I have a comment on that.
So actually, you want to talk about it?
I did speak to the secretary, Ms. Gonzalez, regarding that, and I am setting up this computer with her to be starting recording those starting in April.
Okay,
So
cool.
Good.
Yeah.
I did watch the meeting. I unfortunately couldn't be here last time. So, and since I'm sitting on CAC, what I did was I looked on YouTube. The council meeting on 3/18 only had 28 views. The council meeting on 3/11 had 80 views. Planning and zoning on 3/11 had 21 views. Elevate Florida had 111. That was cool. That was the best. That was really good. Centennial on 3/11 had 21 views and 3/4 had 24 views. CRA had 24 views. Coastal Resilience had 38, and then Town Hall did have 163 as well. So my point is saying that although I sit on CAC for the past 8 years, it's important, but we don't make a lot of rules and zoning changes and stuff like that. So I was going to support Ashley not doing that because she's here long enough. So, and by the views on YouTube, it's not a lot out of 3,000 residents, 28, 30 views for most of them. So.
Well, she's saying that basically you wouldn't be doing it, be Karen.
No, right. The meeting, I'm going to pre-schedule it. I can pre-schedule it in Boxcast. She's essentially just going to start and stop the meeting. But I did speak to her regarding if she's not at CAC or if CAC does not have quorum. I need to know ahead of time. And if you guys don't have quorum, I can just cancel the meeting because it's web-based, so I can get on my phone and just cancel it right then and there.
Great.
Yeah.
Any status change on the Quist property that has the seawall falling down? Moving forward with anything there?
My understanding that's the next group of properties going through Slum White.
Okay. Let's see. I've noticed I got a voter's guide in the mail today from Brian Corley that shows what's on our ballots coming up. Have we done any communication to our residents as to what that is other than what they're sending out there? I mean, there's a lot of information that, I think there's 13 or
the charter 15.
Charter changes, yeah.
The city posted that with some.
I mean, are we? Well, I mean, you can post it. Are we making a recommendation that hey, these are needed because this? Okay, we're just basically throwing it out there and that's it. Okay.
The assumption obviously would be, from a resident perspective, is obviously the council had to pass ordinance to get that on the ballot. So obviously those things are on the ballot for a.
What about a press release on all of those and say, hey, be aware that this was coming up. Pay attention, read it up. Is that something we could do with get a press release on that?
Sure.
Do we have a dispatch timeline of when that transition is going to be effective or starting?
I'm waiting for the county to tell me what
to approve their
meeting.
side.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably got to go through the commissioner meeting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it has to go through the dispatch committee first, And then once that's approved, then it'll go to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, so maybe a month or two out.
Month or two, yeah, probably.
At least. Okay. But they haven't provided me any time for that.
That's all I have.
Old business? Okay. Any other old business?
It's not old business. It's
I got comments next.
Oh, wait.
Is there any old business? Okay. Moving on to comments from the mayor and city council. I'll start with Vice Mayor Rodriguez.
I just had, again, regarding the last meeting, you guys talked about that university that Newport Richey did.
Citizens Academy.
I'm sorry?
Citizens
Academy, yes. Really good idea. But I heard all the discussion, and it's very time consuming right now. One of the things I think we need to do is not everybody, and I've said this 1,000 times, is internet based. I think it would be a really good idea if we did a newsletter. She's heard me say this 1,000 times. I think if we did a newsletter, and then maybe we can highlight different departments and send it out to our residents, and then you're not just getting a few, but you're getting all of our residents. The building department obviously is a big one, especially with the flooding. That would be a really good one to start with. Newport Richey, I gave a copy to Matt. I get Newport Richey's because of my zip code. We don't have to do as fancy and glossy and
Is
stuff
it monthly that they do? Or?
No, I think it's
Quarterly?
I think it's quarterly or biannually. It's definitely biannual, but it could be quarterly.
We do one, I guess, right? Annually?
But that's just hurricane related.
Right.
This is not just. This is it's a citizen. It's a 6 pages total, and it's got a lot of good information in it of upcoming events and so on and so forth. So I think maybe we can look at. I think we should look at something like that in lieu of the university, or is that what you called it?
Citizens Academy.
Citizens Academy. I don't know why I call it university. Citizens Academy, at least as a starting point, and then maybe we can move into that.
Oh, any amount of information we provide.
Absolutely. So I was thinking we could probably do a newsletter. People read them. They don't always go online. They're busy people. And then the other thing, I was talking to the gentleman across the street, moved in a couple months ago, and can we do a welcome packet to new residents? Like he put stuff out for the utility guys to pick up, but he didn't know that you could only make the tree stump X long and that sort of stuff, or any one of our things right now that we can tell new residents to do. So that was an idea he had. I was like, well, that sounds like a good idea.
And they would know that when they signed up for water.
Exactly. That's
when
exactly
the water
right. Yeah, they would
know
know a new resident came in when they signed up for water, whether it be a renter or a homeowner.
Right.
You know, the staff would know what, or we can ask ourselves, you know, what would be really good to put on this newsletter, just to give them a heads up. More information. The more they have, the better off they know. The
permitting information.
Absolutely. The less problems we have with employees.
We do have several different pamphlets on different things. If we could put
Problem with it being twice a year or quarterly, though, is a lot of times then the information isn't relevant anymore. So
on the newsletter, you mean? Yeah.
And that's the problem with it being spread out.
What is the cost to send out a newsletter?
Off the top of my head, I can't tell you.
Okay.
What is your mailing when you mail one of those little cards? About $600 to go to.
So you print the. And again, I didn't go to the whole city. That's in a sense every door direct mail. You print a flyer up right for 2,000 flyers, about $300 some, and then you get $300 to mail it, so $600-700. But that's obviously all done in house. Nobody's.
So maybe $1,000 of mailing.
I think when they did the image. Imagine Cody River, it was $1,000, wasn't it?
Yeah. About $1,000. So that's a good yardstick.
I'm thinking that our hurricane newsletter is probably in the range of around $6,000.
Jeez, really? Wow. That's a lot. Is it because it's multi-pages, I guess? Or? Wow.
A welcome new employee, resident. We can give.
We drive that.
When we can hand that to them when they come to sign up for the water.
Yeah. True.
We don't have to mail that at all, and that's.
Mm-hmm. No,
anyway,
I think
those were just
that's a good idea.
Suggestions. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Burke. Councilman Hubbard.
Well, one question is, I got an email on permits. How are we doing with people finishing up getting permits?
Good.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
We're doing good. We're getting them out within a week.
That's better than bad. That's all.
Councilman Mueller?
Yeah, on that same thread, there's a letter going out that I saw on our website, that last call for the Hurricane Helene damage permits and assessments, right?
The SD.
Huh?
The SD letters.
The SD, substantial damage letter. Got it. At the last meeting, the Elevate floor or something, we have a discussion about there's probably 500 homes that haven't come forward about.
Yes,
And so these are the ones in limbo, right? That we're going to get jammed on by FEMA if we're not actively trying to, get them to comply, I guess, right?
So there's going to be two different letters going out.
Right.
First one going out, we just, I think, finalized earlier today, is the SD letters. And that's what Sal had started doing that information on. We'll also post a copy of that letter on the website so people can see it before they get
That's
it.
a good idea.
But then the next set of letters that need to go out are those homes that aren't substantially damaged, but we recognize as having had damage of some type.
Reckon.
Yeah. That have not come in for permits. And so we'll be sending the letter out to those houses again, thinking about, I think we originally said about 700-ish were probably damaged in some way, and then ultimately we get down to 105 that were substantially damaged or somewhere around there. And so that delta, those that are not substantially damaged and have not gotten a permit, we'll be sending letters out.
Okay. Is there a potential attempt to, knock on doors and find out what's going on, or,
Well, it's I will say that I think we have done a really good job of, during that time frame from the end of the storms and the start of the recovery to now, where our code enforcement and building official had called a lot of people doing work, and so again, our hope is that once we send the letters out, people will notify us that they've done the work, under the understanding that we probably are going to be reaching out to them in some way. I mean, it's not, nobody should think that we're not going to be asking the question, did you do work, and was it work that needed a permit? I mean, we're going to have to do that. Whether it's going door to door, I don't know if that's the most efficient way to do it, but maybe at the end, when we've got it narrowed down to fewer households, that may make sense. But hopefully, again, once we send the letter out, people will start contacting us, and we'll just keep narrowing it down.
Other than that, I've noticed the utility guys have been working on ditches and fixing pipes, and seems like they're actively getting after stuff. So appreciate them. They're not here to acknowledge, but I see them, so I appreciate it.
Oh, you got?
Yeah.
Okay. Just going back to your discussion on the post on the website. So it says this week of March 24th through 28th, the final notice will be mailed to property owners and businesses. It says who have sustained damage. It didn't say substantial damage. So the substantial damage letter will be going out this week. We're going to have another letter that's going out that's for anybody who had damage. It's going to go out later on, I guess, right?
Yeah, and it could go out this week as well. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know the time frame on that yet.
Okay.
I haven't seen the letter. So.
Okay. So I just pointed out if you want to change that to specific to that, or if there's going to be a longer time period or whatever. The couple things. Our next council meeting is April 8th, which is the election day. And so it was automatically rolled to the 9th. And I was going to see if council would entertain moving that to the 10th, the Thursday, as opposed to Wednesday night.
I cannot be here on the 10th. I'm in another city.
Oh.
I don't have a problem.
If you do it at night, yeah. do it
Not
earlier in the
right
day.
now, anyway.
April 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah, we,
I can see if someone from my office can cover, but I can't promise that because that's a busy night for
okay.
others too. I can inquire and let you know, but I cannot be here. I'll be in a different.
And you can't be virtually, you could get another city.
No, I'll be in another city.
Ah.
I'm good.
Well, if we,
First week, the lawyer can't be here, so she'll have to check. We'll have to go with that, right?
so pending,
I can send an email and let you know. Right, I guess I won't see you again.
so why don't we do this? If we get consensus, we'll move it to Thursday pending a lawyer availability.
Can you come Wednesday if?
Wednesday I can do, yes.
And if
Monday?
Monday I cannot do. I'm in another city.
Monday
we
is
have-
set up for the
yeah,
election.
Set up,
yeah.
Okay. So see if you can do the 10th. Or send someone from the office
Yeah.
can do it.
I'll see if someone can cover it.
maybe let's
If they can cover my other city. Yep, I'll see what we can do.
Randy.
He is somewhere else that night. It's a different city.
I'd like to try him out.
I don't know.
I see him in his ethics presentation. But
He'll be tough on you.
I know.
I don't think you want him here.
I think is it Tom? I think
Tom has
Tom
been
did
here?
do one for us.
Yep.
So
I'll see if anyone's available to either come here for me or take over the other city I'm supposed to be going to. We'll
and so
figure it
if not that, then we'll just go ahead and do it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
out. I will let you know.
Is that enough
I
to
think,
act? I guess.
I think you have to vote. I'm trying to pull up that the wording of that.
I can be
We're on vote pending.
It can't be consensus.
No, I think you have to. Well, I mean, that, I'm stepping on the city attorney's toes.
I'm looking
I think
to.
it's
Well, how would you do that if
vote.
it's a
Well, we can do a vote.
either or?
We'll
We
make
you
a
can
motion
say
to
that.
move
A motion to move it to Thursday.
With
The
an alternate,
10th.
with an alternate as to Wednesday.
We'll just go ahead and do that. So
Make a motion to move the meeting to Thursday, the 10th of April. So
second.
With it-
Hold on, with the caveat that if I'm
Pending.
not
our attorney's schedule.
Can cover us.
Yeah.
and if not,
If not,
fine.
the 9th.
We'll reiterate.
No, if not, we'll do Wednesday.
Then we'll do Wednesday.
As a backup.
Right.
So that's your motion.
We'll make a motion, yeah, to Thursday or to Wednesday if, yes.
Second.
Okay. That motion second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? So you want to put the vote all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Go ahead. I'd like to have my comments.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm not going to entertain that motion
Well,
just
the
yet.
motion's out there, so let them deny
I
the
thought,
motion.
we thought you were.
I
Hopefully.
tried, Dave.
I thought you were making.
That's not fair. Okay.
Just making
This is good stuff too, by the way. So we got the legislature to take care of. Myself, Matt, and Bob, which I'm surprised nobody talked about it. Last week we were in Tallahassee. We met with Leader Maggard, Representative Steele, Chairman Yeager, and Chairman on the Senate side, Chairman Hooper. We've got 5 appropriations up there to tune about $10 million. And so we went around all those are in our delegation, obviously, and I'll say beg them to help us out, but we lobbied up there with Mike Moore, our lobbyist, and they seemed very. I can tell you, I don't know how Matt felt, but I had a very good feeling. I think good things are going to happen. Will we get $10 million? No, but I really feel like we're going to get something out of that process.
I appreciated it being there.
Yeah, and it is very. And hopefully, as we go forward in this, like I said, if the more that go up there and a lot of Newport Richey's up there this week, and I believe their whole council's up there again. Their whole council was last time as well. So it's hard to get up there, and I get that. And so, but I'd say Bob, myself, and Matt were up there, and we represented well. And like I said, I really have a good feeling. So we'll find out. Obviously, there's they go to several meetings, committee meetings, and it's with Ed being the chair of the appropriation committee, that helps immensely. So I really feel like we're gonna get something out of that process. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Once it goes through all that, they sign to do the budget. You still has to go past the governor's desk because he can line item veto. So it's not done until DeSantis signs the budget. But just keep our fingers crossed and hope on that. I want to remind the public that as we have an election here, the council debate is not debate, it's a Meet the Candidates event that the Nature Coast Chamber of Commerce is putting on at this Thursday at 6 o'clock at the Richey Suncoast Theater. Port Richey is going to go first at 6, and then Newport Richey will follow around 7:30ish. or whatever. So if you want to, take a chance to meet the candidates, that's an opportunity there. And again, you can come in person. It will be live streamed several different ways, I think. So definitely take a look at that. I want to kind of toot staff's horn here. We talked about getting chaptering in the YouTube videos on meetings, and so I was going to share my screen real quick, just kind of show this to the public and you all, in case you hadn't noticed it yet. Let me pull that up real quick. This is really good stuff. So I've got, this is our, am I sharing? Okay. So this is our March 11th council meeting. Okay. And if you look, you can kind of see it's not just all one line now. You have breaks, right? And so as you roll over here, you've got the different parts of the agenda. Okay. And if you go down to the comments, you can see those, what you see up in the line breaks, you can see them down here. So you click any of these and go right to that thing. So if you want to go right to agenda item 6, you just click that, takes you right there, pops, and then it goes there. The other thing you can do is down here, obviously you see you've got chapters. Oops. With a little screenshot of that place in the video. Doesn't really help a whole lot, but obviously if it's something like Danny doing a prayer, you see he's at the podium. If we had a guest speaker, whatever, you'd see that. So the screenshot is that time shot in the video, but it does line it out. And you can basically, if you're looking, you want to go back and see what they talked about in it. Agenda item 10, you go right there, boom. It's really much easier now to go back and review council meetings and see what we were talking about. That the only thing I was going to make a suggestion on there is because it does say agenda item 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we could actually put the agenda item in there, so that, because otherwise you'd have to go get the agenda from the City of Port Richey site to see what was agenda item 6. If it was there, it'd just be a quick break. You have to do 2 places. That being said, you can, as soon as you click on there, you're hearing me announce it as well, but you'd have to go and actually click it to hear it. So sometimes they're long, so I don't know what you guys thought on that, but this is fantastic just the way it is. But if we could probably put the actual agenda thing in there, that would just help as you're going through meetings. See, where do we talk about this particular thing? There it is. So, and then you can go right to it. It's going to be a good tool. So thank you very much, Ashley, and I think George is part of that as well.
George is the one that implements. I just give them the timestamps of each. I did the timestamps as I'm going through the minutes. So when I was backlogged, anything that I was behind on, I went and did the timestamps of those. So there's some from late last year. Going forward, we have timestamps.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really nice feature. I knew we talked about it. I knew they were working on it, and I just before the meeting I went out there and looked. I said, "Wow, this is great. This is exactly what I was hoping for." So I went toot their horn there. And then I think that's all I have. Oh, one more thing. I did pass out. This is easy. I did pass out a copy of this, and so this obviously part of the appropriation process. The other side of that is bills that affect the city. So what you have in front of you, you got what the Florida League of Cities have put together, who are always up there lobbying for local cities. They've got the one side is what they're opposing, bills that are out there that obviously they oppose. You got property tax, multiple bills would greatly reduce and ultimately jeopardize property tax. So that's, if they do away with property taxes, that's a huge part of our budget. And so they oppose that. There's several different things on here. You can read more about them. I won't bore you with reading through that. And then the other side is bills that they're supporting. So just kind of take a look at that. Just be mindful of what's kind of out there, because these are things that if they pass, one way or another, are going to affect us either negatively or positively. So just a little information there. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
We already had it.
Okay.
Motion and a second.
And I second it.
Okay, who you got? Who it was?
The first motion and the second was ignored, so I need to know clearly who.
Bob, that's fine. Whatever you want.
I second it.
Okay.
Lisa seconded.
Yeah.
So Bob and Lisa, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.